Chapter 4198. The little fox girl immediately obeyed, not daring to move at all. She was afraid that if she moved even the slightest bit, she would be crushed to death by Kong Shinmu's tyrannical strength. After all, she had seen Kong Shinmu heavily injure so many demon beasts. She was sure that she was no match for Kong Shinmu. Kong Shinmu led her into the cave. She was still a little afraid. "Will you really save the princess?" She really didn't want to believe a human dragon warrior. But Kong Shinmu was much stronger than her. Even if he forced his way in, she had no way to stop him. So other than believing in Kong Shinmu, she had no other choice. "As long as what you say is true," Kong Shinmu said expressionlessly. In reality, he was still thinking about whether it was possible that the demonic beasts had already killed the Fire Phoenix Princess and then made up that story. So he had to see the Fire Phoenix Princess with his own eyes. If he could save her, he would wake her up. After she woke up, if she admitted that it was true, then Kong Shinmu wouldn't care about this matter anymore. But if she was already dead, then he would bring the Fire Phoenix Princess's corpse back no matter what. This Fire Phoenix Princess was very pitiful. Moreover, he could tell that she was very kind from the fact that she used her remaining essence blood to save the little fox. When she was born, her mother was burned to death by the Sky General Fire. She had always felt guilty. Kong Shinmu would continue to beg the Phoenix Dragon Country until the royal family settled her down. Since he had come to do this, he had to do it to the best of his ability. He had to ensure that his conscience wouldn't feel bad. In the cave, the little fox girl began to point the way to Kong Shinmu. This cave was where some small demon beasts lived. Kong Shinmu followed along the way and felt that there were many little foxes, little yellow mice and other demon beasts living in the cave. When they sensed his aura, they were all alarmed and hid. Fox demons could transform, and all of their human forms were extremely beautiful and enchanting. After being forcefully hugged by Kong Shinmu, the little fox girl initially wanted to return to her little fox form and escape. Unfortunately, Kong Shinmu hugged her again. She had no chance to escape, so she could only obediently lead the way. Soon, they reached the deepest part of the cave. This was a relatively dry cave, and there was a lot of hay on the ground. Surprisingly, there was a torch burning in the deepest part of the cave. It should have been arranged by the little fox girl so that the Fire Phoenix Princess wouldn't panic when she woke up and couldn't see anything. Lying on the pile of hay was a girl wearing thick clothes and a veil. At this moment, she was almost on the verge of death. Even though she was right in front of him, Kong Shinmu couldn't even feel her heartbeat. Her pulse, heartbeat, and breathing were all extremely weak. She barely showed signs of life. He put the little fox girl down. She immediately turned into a fiery red little fox and hopped to the side of the hay. She looked at the Fire Phoenix Princess worriedly. The concerned expression on her face didn't seem fake at all. "Let me see." Jiang Shenwu bent down and discovered that the young girl's body did indeed look like it had been burned before. It was all charred black, and even after transforming into a divine dragon, the dragon scales on its body were all charred black by the fire. She had always worn thick clothes and a veil. She had never taken it off since she was young. Because the moment she took off her veil, her charred skin would be exposed and she would be laughed at by others. "I've never encountered such a situation before," Kong Shinmu thought to himself as he observed. "No matter what, I'll try to use my devouring power to save her. I've just devoured the life force of so many demon beasts outside and the vines in the valley. I haven't used up all of it yet." "How is it?" the little fox said worriedly. "Is the princess about to die?" "Wait." Immediately after, Kong Shinmu placed a hand on the girl's wrist. Her wrist was very rough and was covered in charred dead skin. She had been burned like this when she was young and there was no way to cure it. It was clear that the flames that descended on her on the day of her birth were definitely not ordinary flames. After all, if it was an ordinary burn, it could be easily treated with the resources of the Phoenix Dragon Country's royal family. Of course, it was also possible that her father didn't want to treat her at all. If that was the case, the Fire Phoenix Princess would probably feel even worse. Following Kong Shinmu's actions, strands of devouring power quickly transported the life force into the Fire Phoenix Princess body. The little fox and a large group of small demon beasts watched nervously from behind. However, Jiang Shenwu ignored them. Even if these small demonic beasts gathered together and attacked him, he could easily block them without even transforming into a dragon. The primal chaos dragon body was not something to be trifled with. He constantly paid attention to the Fire Phoenix Princess condition. He discovered that as the life force entered her body, her aura did indeed rise and became slightly better than before. Moreover, Kong Shinmu discovered that after the devouring power entered her body, not only was her life force slowly recovering, even the layer of charred skin on her body was beginning to peel off. Bit by bit, fair and tender skin appeared from her hands. Not only that, Kong Shinmu also discovered that the charred skin on her body was also beginning to fade. It seems that no matter what kind of flame left behind this injury, it's not as strong as the devouring power. Kong Shinmu sighed. He had the devouring power, so he didn't know the pain of ordinary dragon martial artists. Once they were injured, it would take a long time for them to recover. There were also people like the Fire Phoenix Princess who had been in pain since birth. As his devouring power sent the life force into the Fire Phoenix Princess body, the Fire Phoenix Princess condition became better and better. After a while, Kong Shinmu took the initiative to reach out and remove the black veil on her face. "What are you doing?" The little fox at the side immediately became nervous. She originally felt that the Fire Phoenix Princess aura was getting better, as if her life force was constantly recovering. She even heaved a sigh of relief, thinking that she had met a good person this time. This person was really here to save the Fire Phoenix Princess. But seeing Kong Shinmu reach out, she became a little nervous. The Fire Phoenix Princess definitely doesn't want me to remove her veil. It's fine. Kong Shinmu shook his head. He didn't stop and directly removed her black veil. Out of the little foxes and the surrounding small demon beasts' expectations, under the illumination of the dry firewood, an incomparably exquisite and sweet face appeared under the veil. There was no trace of charred skin at all. That face was so tender that water was about to drip out. Her skin was so good that the little fox was a little envious. Even the burnt skin on her body had already faded, turning into charred skin that landed on the dry grass. Chapter 4199. The Fire Phoenix Princess opened her eyes and coughed violently. She could barely make out the unfamiliar youth in front of her. "Princess, you're awake?" The little fox was a little excited, especially when she saw that the Fire Phoenix Princess's skin had become as smooth as white jade. She couldn't believe it. Kong Shinmu's method was like that of a god. She'd never heard of such a method before. What happened to me?" The Fire Phoenix Princess's voice was a little soft and weak, but it unexpectedly revealed a sense of determination. "You transferred the butterfly Fire Phoenix dragon bloodline to me and saved me, but you fell unconscious. If it wasn't for this young master, I'm afraid you..." The little fox couldn't help but cry out. She originally thought the Fire Phoenix Princess was dead for sure, but she didn't expect a young dragon warrior to come and save the Fire Phoenix Princess. "It was the young master who saved me?" The Fire Phoenix Princess opened her eyes and looked up and down at Kong Shinmu. She was in disbelief. She didn't think someone would be willing to save her. It would be fine if it was a demon, but it was a human. "I saved you because the Phoenix Dragon Country issued a mission to Donghuang Yonggu College and told me to come find you," Kong Shinmu explained. "So you have to come with me to the Phoenix Dragon Country in order to have them announce that my mission is completed." "Go back to the Phoenix Dragon Country?" "No, I'm not going back." The Fire Phoenix Princess's expression turned ugly when she heard this. Her clear eyes were filled with fear. "Yes, the princess can't go back to the Phoenix Dragon Country or she'll die." The little fox cried out in terror as well. "Don't worry." Kong Shinmu looked at them solemnly. "I just need to send you back and have them announce that my mission is completed. After my mission is completed, I will personally escort you and take you away from the Imperial City. Do you believe me?" He had to complete the mission of the Eastern Imperial Dragon Martial Academy. After all, it was related to the speed of his cultivation. Furthermore, with enough experience points, he would be able to cultivate more and stronger origin dragon martial techniques. Apart from Donghuang Yonggu College, there was no other way for him to obtain a better origin dragon martial skill. Therefore, he had to cherish this opportunity. "Princess." Hearing Kong Shinmu's words, the little fox that had transformed into a beauty looked a little pitiful, hoping that the Fire Phoenix Princess would not believe Kong Shinmu's words. After all, in her eyes, the words of humans were the most untrustworthy. The Fire Phoenix Princess was still considering, but when she lowered her head, she was surprised to see the skin on her arm. It was as lustrous as jade, causing her to be stunned. It was as if she had seen something impossible. But then she reached out and even raised her hand to touch her smooth face. She couldn't help but be shocked on the spot. "Isn't my skin? How did it become like this?" Her originally charred and wrinkled skin had now become incomparably bright and smooth. It was as if her skin was made of ice and her bones were like jade, causing one's imagination to run wild. Her skin was filled with the most delicate warmth. For as long as she could remember, she was an ugly princess. But now, it seemed that his body had undergone an earth-shattering change. "It was the young master who healed your injuries, and then you became like this." The little fox couldn't help but look a little envious. She helped Kong Shinmu explain, "Although I don't know what method the young master used, princess, you are so beautiful now. You are even more beautiful than the women that we foxes have transformed into. I only now know that you are actually so good-looking." Was this really the young master's help? The Fire Phoenix Princess looked at Kong Shinmu in disbelief. She had lived under the disdain of others since she was young. She never thought that there would be a day when she could become beautiful again. The charred skin on her body had become as smooth and clean as jade. She roughly knew that there should be an extraordinary person in this world who could heal her burns, but she never thought that such an extraordinary person would appear by her side and heal her burns while she was unconscious. Such an extraordinary person couldn't be a bad person, right? Moreover, the Fire Phoenix Princess secretly sized up Kong Shinmu. She felt that he was a student of Donghuang Yonggu College after all, so his character shouldn't be too bad, right? Then he should keep his word. "Young master, you saved me, so I should help you. I will pack up and follow you back to beg for Phoenix Dragon Country." The Fire Phoenix Princess said respectfully to Kong Shinmu. "Also, the young master healed this little girl's burns. This little girl will never forget this great kindness. If the young master doesn't mind, this little girl is willing to become the young master's maid and serve the young master. I wonder if the young master will mind." When Kong Shinmu heard this, he was a little surprised. Wasn't this girl a little too honest? He didn't want a girl to follow behind him to serve him. He wasn't a noble young master who needed a maid to serve him. He had been in even worse environments, so a maid was completely useless to him. Instead, he would sometimes have to divert his attention to take care of her, which would only add to his troubles. "No need." Kong Shinmu waved his hand. "I was just doing it in passing. You don't have to take it to heart. As long as you can cooperate and let me complete the mission, it's fine." "Young master." The beauty that the little fox had transformed into looked at the Fire Phoenix Princess' disappointed expression and immediately gathered her courage to say, "Young master, please take the princess in. The princess has nowhere else to go, so she can only follow you. You also know that although she has a good relationship with the demon race, she is still human. She can't stay with us for the rest of her life." "No need to say more." The Fire Phoenix Princess shook her head sadly. "Since the young master doesn't need this little girl will not be thick-skinned and follow the young master. Since the young master needs to complete the mission, this little girl will follow the young master back to beg for Phoenix Dragon Country." "Many thanks." Kong Shinmu looked at her expression and felt a little sad. "Why don't I just let her become my maid and be done with it?" Kong Shinmu thought that although he didn't need a maid, it wasn't bad to have one more maid. However, it seemed that he couldn't bring a maid into Donghuang Yonggu College. This was a little troublesome. Soon he shook his head. He would think about this later. The most important thing now was to bring the Fire Phoenix Princess back and complete the mission. "Let's go." Then, under the reluctant gazes of the little fox beauty and many other demon beasts, the Fire Phoenix Princess left with Kong Shinmu. She turned into a butterfly fire phoenix dragon and flew towards the Imperial City. As for Kong Shinmu, he turned into a pitch-black divine dragon and took the lead. He whistled through the air as he flew towards the Imperial City. He was thinking about his future plans. In reality, he had a rather strange feeling when he swallowed the butterfly fire phoenix dragon's blood essence. Chapter 4200. Of course, Kong Shinmu would not really take her in as a servant just because of this. At most, he would treat her as a friend, just like Xueqi and Yutong. He brought the Fire Phoenix Princess and the two of them transformed into divine dragons and headed towards the Chuohuang Dragon Country's Imperial City. Kong Shinmu was a Dragon King's inherited blood essence. He was 400 to 500 feet long and had an abundance of blood essence. He looked extremely spirited and majestic. But the Fire Phoenix Princess had been absorbing the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon's blood essence for a long period of time. After she transformed into a divine dragon, she looked listless and the flames on her body were extremely dim. Kong Shinmu's heart ached when he saw this. He had an indescribable feeling towards the Fire Phoenix Princess father. Kong Shinmu found it hard to imagine why a father would treat his own daughter so cruelly. Not long after, the Xueqi Dragon Country's imperial city was in sight. Looking at the majestic and glorious imperial city, a sorrowful and complicated expression appeared in the eyes of the Fire Phoenix Princess, who had transformed into a divine dragon. She had too many feelings and attachments towards this place, but this place had also brought her too much pain and torture. Most importantly, the torture from her father. If her father had treated her well, then no matter what she encountered, she would not have hidden in the Seeking Phoenix forest where demon beasts gathered. To her, demon beasts with true emotions were more humane. This was undoubtedly an extremely ironic matter. We're here. Don't worry, I will definitely not let them keep you. Jiang Shenwu turned his head. His pair of pitch-black divine dragon eyes glanced at the incomparably weak little divine dragon of the Fire Phoenix Princess. She was only a heavenly dragon's inherited blood essence. Ever since she obtained the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon's inherited blood essence, she had been a heavenly dragon. She had not improved at all, mainly because the experts of the Xueqi Dragon Country did not have the resources to give an unfavored princess like her. If it was an ordinary favored princess who was born a heavenly dragon, she would be able to reach the holy dragon level relatively quickly. As for the Dragon King, it would be difficult, but it was still possible in this lifetime. As for the Fire Phoenix Princess, even if she stayed in Xueqi Dragon Country for the rest of her life, it would be impossible for her to reach the level of the Dragon King's divine dragon inheritance blood essence. You don't have to mind it, young master. Actually, I'm already very touched that young master is willing to save me. The Fire Phoenix Princess had indeed never met anyone who treated her so well. Although Kong Shinmu had only come to complete the quest, in her opinion, in order to save her and even heal her charred skin, he must have consumed a lot of resources. She felt that these resources could not be compensated with the rewards from completing the quest. What she didn't know was that to Kong Shinmu, saving her was just an experiment. It was an experiment on the devouring power, and he had come to the conclusion that the devouring power was more useful than he had imagined. Most importantly, Kong Shinmu hadn't expended much energy at all. He had even obtained some of the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon's essence blood. He felt as if his resistance to fire-type powers had increased significantly. Just like Shi Yueying's 5 Extremes mysterious ice power, it could permanently increase Kong Shinmu's resistance to ice-type powers. Of course, although this power was very useful to Kong Shinmu, he would never force them to hand over their power to him. Moreover, the Fire Phoenix Princess was already very weak. If Kong Shinmu devoured more of the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon's essence blood, she might die and never come back to life. This was not the situation Kong Shinmu wanted to see. Immediately after, he brought the Fire Phoenix Princess, one big and one small, one black and one red divine dragon, and landed in Xueqi Dragon Country's imperial city. The direction in which they landed was the army's drill ground where Kong Shinmu had previously been briefed on the situation. On the training square of the army's dragon warriors, Kong Shinmu and the Fire Phoenix Princess returned to their human forms and landed. Their appearance directly attracted the attention of everyone around them, especially the short and fat General Yang, who was bathing in the sun and about to fall asleep. He suddenly opened his eyes and stared at the two of them. Isn't that a student from Donghuang Yonggu College? Who is that beauty next to him? Looking at the way she transformed into a dragon, she seems to be a butterfly Fire Phoenix dragon. Is that the Fire Phoenix Princess? Impossible! The Fire Phoenix Princess is so ugly, and didn't they say that she died in the Phoenix-seeking forest and became food for the demon beasts? How could she come back? Many people around them whispered to each other, unable to believe that it was the Fire Phoenix Princess. But just before she landed, her butterfly Fire Phoenix dragon form completely proved her identity. Because in Xueqi Dragon Country, it was impossible for anyone else to obtain the butterfly Fire Phoenix dragon's inheritance essence blood. The armored General Yang immediately widened his small eyes and quickly walked towards the two people in the square. Behind him were a few deputy generals and lieutenants, and all of them looked shocked. Isn't this young Master Jiang? I wonder who this lady is. Didn't young Master Jiang go to find the Fire Phoenix Princess? General Yang asked with some doubt in his voice. he still respected Kong Shinmu quite a bit. No matter what, Kong Shinmu was a student of Donghuang Yonggu College. Even the sacred Abyss Dragon Country could only admire Donghuang Yonggu College, let alone this tiny Xueqi Dragon Country. This is the Fire Phoenix Princess. Didn't you see the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon she transformed into? Kong Shinmu glanced at General Liang and said with a slight frown. I saw her, but... General Liang pointed at the Fire Phoenix Princess, who had changed completely and had become incomparably pure and lovely. He said in disbelief, but the Fire Phoenix Princess doesn't look like this. I healed all of her burns. According to the agreement, I have completed this mission, right? Kong Shinmu said straightforwardly, please confirm for Donghuang Yonggu College that I have completed this mission. Young Master Jiang. Please wait a moment. This is the Fire Phoenix Princess. I can't be sure. Why don't we ask His Majesty to come and take a look? General Liang felt that it wasn't good to be so sure. They had originally planned to say that the Fire Phoenix Princess was dead, so there wouldn't be so much trouble. However, they didn't expect that Kong Shinmu would actually bring back a beauty who could transform into a butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon. General Liang actually believed that this beauty was the Fire Phoenix Princess. However, with his position, he didn't dare to make the final decision. He had to ask the Phoenix Dragon Country's Dragon Emperor to come over. Although he was called Dragon Emperor, he was actually just a Dragon King level inheritor of Essence blood. However, in order to preserve the dignity of the royal family, he was still respectfully called Lord Dragon Emperor. That was the Fire Phoenix Princess' biological father. Ask him to come. Chapter 4201. Not long after, General Liang spread the news. Soon, a large group of people rushed towards the military drill ground from all directions. Each and every one of them had a terrifying presence. Above the blue sky and white clouds, dragon palanquins slowly approached. The might of a divine dragon came from all directions and gathered everyone. From the dragon palanquins, dignified people walked out. There were men and women, old and young. The elderly man was followed by rows of guards. His expression was stern, and his face was filled with displeasure. As for the younger people, there were boys and girls. When the youth saw the beautiful girl, Princess Fire Phoenix, in the center of the square, they were all pleasantly surprised and in love. They never thought that the once ugly Princess Fire Phoenix would become so pure and beautiful. If it was in the past, they would laugh at any young man standing next to Princess Fire Phoenix. After all, in their opinion, only those powerless kids would be interested in such an ugly Princess Fire Phoenix. But now, they all looked at the youth beside Princess Fire Phoenix, Kong Shinmu. They were burning with jealousy. They hated themselves for not being the one beside Princess Fire Phoenix. After all, there weren't many girls as beautiful as Princess Fire Phoenix in the entire Xueqi Dragon Country. Furthermore, she was the inheritor of the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon's blood essence. However, there were still some people who were suspicious. Was this really Princess Fire Phoenix? Could she be someone else in disguise? There were also many girls, princesses and so on. They all stared at Princess Fire Phoenix in the square, feeling incredulous. The ugly Princess Fire Phoenix that they had once ridiculed and looked down on had become so beautiful? That face, that skin, that figure, those legs. Which one of them was stronger and more alluring than all of them? If they could all have such looks, their status in the Xueqi Dragon Country would definitely rise. They might even head to the sacred Abyss Dragon Country and find a better noble young master as a partner. From there, they could leap over the Dragon's Gate and become a true member of the royal family of the Dragon Emperor Empire. However, their thoughts were the same as everyone else. Could this Princess Fire Phoenix be an imposter? They didn't doubt that if someone had a bloodline similar to the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon's inherited blood essence, they would be willing to impersonate the Fire Phoenix Princess. After all, the Fire Phoenix Princess was still a princess. Among the crowd, the most ostentatious ones were the 4 dragon palanquins that descended from the sky. A middle-aged man wearing a golden dragon robe walked out from one of the dragon palanquins. His face was dignified, and his expression was solemn. As soon as he appeared, he raised his hand, signaling for everyone to stop in the sky. Only he and the 2 guards behind him were able to land on the drill ground below. Even when he appeared, the short and fat General Liang immediately dismissed all the dragon warriors in the surrounding army, not allowing anyone to stay in the square. Seeing this, Kong Shinmu didn't have a good impression of the Chuehuang Dragon Country's royal family. No wonder the Phoenix Dragon Kingdom is getting weaker and weaker, Kong Shinmu thought to himself. His expression was cold, but he didn't say anything. These nobles of the Chuehuang Dragon Country didn't put any effort into cultivation, so how could there be experts emerging? In fact, within the entire imperial city, the practice of extravagance had become the norm. Everyone was competing with each other in terms of extravagance. Status was determined by one's birth and family. Those who were born into these large families or even the royal family did not have much time to focus on cultivation. Under such circumstances, the entire Chuehuang Dragon Country naturally became weaker and weaker. If it wasn't located near Donghuang Yonggu College, the Sacred Abyss Dragon Country wouldn't dare to forcefully annex it, and the Chuehuang Dragon Country's royal family would probably have ceased to exist long ago. What a waste! If the Dragon Emperor Yan had the conditions of this region, he would definitely be able to develop the Yan Dragon Emperor Empire even more prosperous. Kong Shinmu shook his head. It was a pity that the Dragon Emperor Yan was born relatively late. When he reached the Dragon Emperor realm, he would either have to join another Dragon Emperor Empire, or he would have to go to a more peripheral area and carve out his own region. Those areas naturally had a lot less cultivation resources. Roughly speaking, the cultivation resources of the Chuehuang Dragon Country were 3 to 5 times richer than the Dragon Emperor Empire. Regardless of whether it was immortal herbs or natural treasures, the production was much more abundant. This was because it was much closer to Donghuang Yonggu College. The Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial Academy's Dragon Mark's energy, even if it was just a little, could turn many ordinary plants into precious immortal herbs, turning them into precious treasures that were very useful for dragon martial artists to raise the level of their inherited blood essence. However, the further away from Donghuang Yonggu College, the fewer such treasures would appear. Moreover, the energy contained within would be less, and the effects on dragon martial artists would be weaker. This was why Kong Shinmu felt a little unbalanced. These guys occupied the best resources, but they didn't know how to work hard. Kong Shinmu looked at the golden-robed middle-aged man who descended from the sky. He knew that this person was Princess Fire Phoenix's biological father, the current Dragon Emperor of the Chuehuang Dragon Country. Not only did this person not try to break through to the Dragon Emperor realm, but he also put all his thoughts on his daughter. He used her divine dragon's inherited blood essence to offer sacrifices to his ancestors, hoping that the Chuehuang Dragon Country would become more prosperous in the future. This was no different from indulging in fantasy. You are Princess Fire Phoenix's father? Kong Shinmu glanced at the middle-aged man and felt that the other party was slightly stronger than him. Although they were both Dragon King level of inherited blood essence, this person had cultivated for a long time. In terms of cultivation, he had already surpassed the Nirvana Tribulation Realm and was at the Rebirth Tribulation Realm. However, he was not worried that the other party would attack him. After all, he was a student of Donghuang Yonggu College. No matter what, the other party would not attack him unless he wanted the entire Chuehuang Dragon Country to be destroyed. That's right. The golden-robed middle-aged man nodded majestically and landed on the ground. However, his footsteps seemed a little weak. No matter what, this was a dragon martial artist with blood essence at the Dragon King level. However, his footsteps were actually weak. This made Kong Shinmu deeply understand what he was doing on a daily basis. Princess Fire Phoenix, I've brought her back. Can you see if you can inform Donghuang Yonggu College to confirm that I've completed this mission? Kong Shinmu narrowed his eyes and asked. This is Princess Fire Phoenix, my daughter? The middle-aged man glanced at Princess Fire Phoenix. It was obvious that he was stunned. He never thought that his daughter would actually be so beautiful. That's right, she is Princess Fire Phoenix. Kong Shinmu introduced. Princess Fire Phoenix blushed a little. She never thought that she would suddenly become so beautiful. She was so beautiful that her father would reveal such a stunned expression when he saw her. However, her heart was still filled with sorrow. After all, she had returned this time because she was saved by Kong Shinmu. Chapter 4202. When Kong Shinmu made it clear that the girl beside him was the Fire Phoenix Princess. The middle-aged man in front of him didn't believe it at first, but after taking a closer look, he was shocked. She really looks like a Fire Phoenix? Chuehuang Dragon Country's Dragon Emperor carefully looked at the Fire Phoenix Princess with an expression of disbelief. After all, the Fire Phoenix Princess was his daughter, so he knew what was going on. The burns all over her body weren't something an ordinary person could heal. At this moment, her skin had become smooth again, and the burn marks were gone. What was going on? He felt that the Fire Phoenix Princess was more beautiful than any of the concubines in his harem. This made his heart burn. It wasn't that he had thoughts about his daughter, but he had a new plan. Since the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon's blood essence in the Fire Phoenix Princess body had almost been extracted, why not find a way to marry the Fire Phoenix Princess off? If she could marry into the sacred Abyss Dragon country, marry into a noble with an extremely high status, it would be very useful for Xueqi Dragon country's future development. After all, the Fire Phoenix Princess was so beautiful. Who could resist her temptation? It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back. Xueqi Dragon country's Dragon Emperor was originally surprised, but after he had a plan, his face became gentle and happy. A hint of joy appeared in his eyes. Kong Shinmu looked at him and frowned. He didn't know why the middle-aged man's attitude suddenly changed. Could it be that he found his conscience and felt that he had to treat his daughter better? But he soon found out that wasn't the case. When the middle-aged man looked at the Fire Phoenix Princess, he didn't feel like he was looking at a family member. Instead, it was as if he was looking at a trading item. That was something in the depths of his eyes. If Kong Shinmu hadn't observed carefully, he might not have been able to see it. But since Kong Shinmu saw it, he knew what kind of father he was. However, let me say this first. Although I found the Fire Phoenix Princess this time, she isn't willing to stay in Xueqi Dragon country. Kong Shinmu said straightforwardly, so I will take her away. When Kong Shinmu said this, the Fire Phoenix Princess was the first to feel touched. Although Kong Shinmu had said that he wanted to take her away, she hadn't paid much attention to it. After all, even a student of Donghuang Yanggu College would find it difficult to fight against the entire Xueqi Dragon country. But now, when Kong Shinmu really said these words, the Fire Phoenix Princess's beautiful eyes became moist. Take him away? When Kong Shinmu said this, not only the Dragon Emperor in front of him but also the surrounding nobles of the Xueqi Dragon country revealed looks of disbelief. If it was in the past, when the Fire Phoenix Princess was still very ugly, they would definitely think that Kong Shinmu was an idiot. At that time, if someone wanted to take away the Fire Phoenix Princess and the other party was a student of Donghuang Yanggu College, they probably wouldn't have stopped them at all. But now, the Fire Phoenix Princess had become so beautiful. As long as she was used for marriage, how much benefit would it bring to the Xueqi Dragon country? All of them revealed serious expressions. It was very obvious that they didn't want the Fire Phoenix Princess to be taken away by Kong Shinmu just like that. And that Dragon Emperor was the same. His expression became somewhat serious. Little brother, no matter what, the Fire Phoenix Princess is still my daughter. Isn't it a little inappropriate for you to take her away like this? What's inappropriate about it? Kong Shinmu stared at him and asked in reply. You have already given up on her. She has already left this place. It's just that I need to bring her back. I want you to help me inform the academy that I have completed the training mission. According to your original thoughts, it would be best for her to disappear in the Xueqi forest and never appear again. No one would pursue her. But now, seeing that she has become beautiful, you want to keep her and bring more benefits to your Xueqi Dragon country? Sorry. The Fire Phoenix Princess is your daughter. You treated her so cruelly in the past. I don't believe that you will treat her well in the future. Kong Shinmu shook his head and was about to leave with the Fire Phoenix Princess. Wait. The middle-aged man looked a little regretful, but his eyes were filled with determination. Little brother, please believe me. I will definitely take good care of her in the future. I won't let her suffer even the slightest bit of harm. Please don't take my daughter away. His strength was originally stronger than Kong Shinmu's. However, with Kong Shinmu's identity, it was impossible for the entire Xueqi Dragon country to attack Kong Shinmu even if they joined forces. Otherwise, this Xueqi Dragon country wouldn't be as simple as just becoming a subsidiary country. Perhaps from top to bottom, even the nobles would be punished by the experts of Donghuang Yanggu College. So when he faced Kong Shinmu, he could only beg. Just based on what you have done to her in the past, I have no reason to believe your words. Kong Shinmu shook his head. When the middle-aged man, Dragon Emperor, heard this, his eyes became a little gloomy. He never thought that a dignified student of Donghuang Yanggu College like Kong Xinmu would actually meddle in this kind of business. This was beyond his expectations. Looking at the Fire Phoenix Princess who had become beautiful and moving, he felt an itch in his heart. Such a beauty was actually his daughter. If he didn't keep her, wouldn't he suffer a great loss? Such a beautiful daughter could bring him too many benefits. Since that's the case, I won't send anyone to inform Donghuang Yanggu College. The middle-aged man took a deep breath and revealed his trump card. If that was the case, Kong Xinmu's training mission would not be completed. After all, little brother, if the Fire Phoenix Princess hasn't returned to our side, it won't count as you bringing her back, right? The middle-aged man said indifferently with a trace of ridicule on his face. He wasn't the slightest bit worried that Kong Xinmu would forcefully meddle in this matter after hearing these words. In his heart, he felt that Kong Xinmu was an idiot. If he had waited for them to send out the news before saying that he wanted to take the Fire Phoenix Princess away, he felt that Kong Xinmu didn't need to be afraid at all. But now, if he wanted to complete his mission, he had to keep the Fire Phoenix Princess. Unfortunately, he wasn't Kong Xinmu. He didn't know Kong Xinmu's personality at all. If Kong Xinmu did as he thought and waited for him to send out the news, he could achieve his goal. But if he did that, it would be equivalent to deceiving the other party. Kong Xinmu disdained to do such a thing. He glanced at him. Whether you inform Donghuang Yanggu College or not is your business. If you don't, I will report this matter truthfully. If he reported it, Kong Xinmu didn't know what the consequences would be. But to Xueqi Dragon Country, it was definitely not a good thing. Chapter 4203. If Kong Xinmu reported this matter, no one knew what would happen. How would Donghuang Yanggu College deal with this? To be honest, the middle-aged man, Dragon Emperor, had not interacted with Donghuang Yanggu College much. He did not know what the consequences of this matter would be. Of course, he did not think that Donghuang Yanggu College would meddle in his daughter's business. The key was that they deliberately made Kong Xinmu unable to complete his mission. This matter was very likely to be held accountable by Donghuang Yanggu College. He thought about it carefully and gave up on threatening Kong Xinmu. He sighed. Since that's the case, take her away. He shook his head as if he did not intend to care about this matter anymore. Okay. Kong Xinmu nodded. He turned around and pulled the Fire Phoenix Princess's hand, flying back to where they came from. But he thought about it. It seemed that if he returned through the East Emperor Formation, he would directly arrive at Donghuang Yanggu College. If he brought the Fire Phoenix Princess back, it did not seem very appropriate. From now on, how about you cultivate in East Emperor Dragon Martial City? Kong Xinmu asked her. I'll send you to East Emperor Dragon Martial City. That way, I can visit you every once in a while. Okay, as you wish, young master. The Fire Phoenix Princess was very gentle and obedient. Seeing them transform into dragons and fly away, the nobles in Xueqi Dragon Country's imperial city felt that it was a pity. Instead, the Dragon Emperor and General Liang gathered together and seemed to be discussing something. Your Majesty, are we really letting that brat take the princess away? Isn't this too good for that brat? General Liang had a displeased look on his face. In reality, looking at the Fire Phoenix Princess's current beautiful appearance, even General Liang was tempted. He really wanted to press that girl under his body and ravage her. With the Fire Phoenix Princess's original appearance, it was impossible for anyone to have any ideas about her. But now, everything had changed. Seeing the Fire Phoenix Princess being taken away just like that, General Liang was puzzled. What can we do? The middle-aged man, Dragon Emperor, felt a little uncomfortable, but as he watched Kong Xinmu and the Fire Phoenix Princess fly further and further away, a hint of ruthlessness appeared in his eyes. He had a plan, but he did not say it out loud. Moreover, he would never tell anyone about this plan. Then, he dismissed everyone present and pretended to be helpless and sad. He returned to a secret chamber in the palace and took out a scroll. Then, he wrote something on it and sent it out by carrier pigeon. Kong Xinmu quickly brought the Fire Phoenix Princess to the border of Xueqi Dragon Country. The distance between Xueqi Dragon Country and Donghuang Yanggu College was not far. There were about 3 Dragon Emperor countries in between. If Kong Xinmu were to send her to Donghuang Dragon Martial City, it would not take too much time. The two of them didn't fly for long before the sky gradually darkened. They found a small border town, landed in the town, and returned to their human forms. Let's go in and eat something and rest for the night. Kong Shin Mu brought her into the town. Okay. She nodded gently and followed closely behind Kong Shin Mu. She did not dare to fall behind, afraid that if she did, she would never be able to find him again. The two of them entered the town. There were many dragon warriors in the town, but most of them were ordinary people. Those who did not inherit the divine dragon blood essence lived quietly in the town. Because this town was still within the boundaries of Xueqi Dragon Country, it was still considered safe. In the north, there was a border pass of Xueqi Dragon Country. Outside the border pass, there was a relatively dangerous area. It was a no-man's land. No matter what happened, Dragon Emperor Country would not care about it. Therefore, before they passed by, Kong Shin Mu planned to bring the Fire Phoenix Princess to rest in this town for the night. When they stepped into the town, the Fire Phoenix Princess beauty immediately attracted the attention of too many people. As they walked on the street, many people stared at her without blinking, causing her to blush like a ripe peach. She had just been healed by Kong Shin Mu and her appearance was restored to its current state. If it was before, how could there be such a scene? If those people saw her charred body, they might not even be able to dodge in time. She only believed that even if her entire body was charred, Kong Shin Mu would still not give up on her. This was her trust in Kong Shin Mu's character. And now, as more and more people looked at her, she felt very uncomfortable. She thought to herself that perhaps she should buy a veil to cover her face. In the past, she never thought that such a thing would happen to her, but after meeting Kong Shin Mu, everything changed for her. The two of them found an inn and ordered some side dishes and fruit wine in the inn's hall, preparing to eat something first. While they were eating, there were many people in the inn's hall staring at the Fire Phoenix Princess. But because Kong Shin Mu's body emitted the aura of a Nirvana Tribulation Realm Dragon martial artist, no one dared to cause trouble for him. The Fire Phoenix Princess was simply starving, but the royal family's etiquette made her eat very elegantly. In addition, her face was always rosy, making her look extremely cute. Even Kong Shin Mu would sometimes take a few glances at her. It had to be said that the appearance of this little princess was much more beautiful than the women he had seen before. If they were to really be ranked, perhaps even Xueqi couldn't compare to her. Among the women he had seen before, perhaps only teacher Xueqi could compare to the Fire Phoenix Princess in terms of appearance. And once Kong Shin Mu's gaze stopped on the Fire Phoenix Princess, her face would become even more rosy, but she didn't dodge at all. To her, Kong Shin Mu's appreciation was a kind of encouragement. Otherwise, she would really feel that she was a burden following Kong Shin Mu. No matter what young master needs, I will, the Fire Phoenix Princess thought in her heart. However, it was obvious that Kong Shin Mu wouldn't have any excessive thoughts. It was fine if he looked at her a few more times. It was just a kind of appreciation for her beauty. But Kong Shin Mu wouldn't do anything excessive to her. The two of them ate. It was also at this moment that a stern shout suddenly came from the entrance of the inn. That little lady over there, he. You're pretty good looking. Why don't you play with us brothers? Just for one night, we won't treat you unfairly. As these words rang out, several wandering dragon cultivators dressed simply walked over to Zhang Shenwu and the Fire Phoenix Princess, all of them exuding a ruffian aura. This situation made the Fire Phoenix Princess's heart tighten. She didn't expect this to cause trouble. Chapter 4204. At the entrance of the inn, a total of 4 wandering dragon martial artists slowly walked in. They stared at the Fire Phoenix Princess with lustful expressions in their eyes. It was obvious that they had some ulterior motives towards her. Moreover, each of them carried the aura of a Nirvana Tribulation Realm Dragon martial artist. It was obvious that they were the best of the wandering dragon martial artists. They were used to running amok everywhere. Now that they saw a young dragon martial artist with a beautiful woman with no cultivation, what was there to be afraid of? They immediately planned to snatch the beautiful woman over. Seeing the 4 of them barge into the inn, many of the people who were eating in the hall did not dare to stay any longer and all left. I advise you not to cause trouble. Kong Shin Mu coldly looked at the 4 of them and said with a sneer. Hee, stinking brat, you dare to threaten us? Do you know who we are? Among the 4, the leader of the 4, a scar-faced man sneered and said, a mere second-stage Nirvana Tribulation Realm cultivator. If you know what's good for you, scram and hand over your woman. Otherwise, I'll let you know what cruelty is. So you're saying that we have to fight? Kong Shinmu sighed. Why are you pretending to be a big wolf at such a young age? Another wandering dragon martial artist with a headscarf sneered. If you don't scram, just wait to be cut into pieces by us. It's not like we haven't done this before. Go out, don't fight here. Kong Shinmu put down his bowl and chopsticks. He immediately stood up and walked out of the room with the Fire Phoenix Princess. The four wandering dragon martial artists sneered when they saw this. This kid really wants to fight us? Alright, then let him see how powerful we are. Not only that, this kid is not obedient and has wasted our time. When the time comes, let him watch us play with his woman, hee hee. The four of them looked relaxed and did not seem to be under any pressure at all. After leaving the inn, the four wandering dragon warriors roared and turned into four divine dragons that were hundreds of feet long in mid-air. Each of the four divine dragons had inherited blood essence of a heavenly dragon. Among the wandering dragon martial artists, this was already considered a very impressive existence. After all, wandering dragon martial artists were in a precarious situation. It was difficult for them to even improve their realm, let alone improve the grade of the divine dragon inheritance blood essence. Four heaven dragon realm divine dragons. No wonder they dared to be so arrogant in this small place. However, when Kong Shinmu looked at the four divine dragons, he sneered. Just four heavenly dragon blood essence inheritors. It wasn't that he was looking down on his opponent, but the grade of his essence blood far exceeded his opponent's. There was a hurdle between a sky dragon and a sacred dragon, and another hurdle between a sacred dragon and a dragon king. And Kong Shinmu was already 2 whole levels higher than his opponent. Even if the other party was a reincarnation tribulation realm heavenly dragon inheritor, Kong Shinmu would not be afraid, much less a nirvana tribulation realm heavenly dragon inheritor. Immediately after, he transformed into a pitch-black divine dragon and roared into the sky. The black dragon was 4,000 to 5,000 feet long and was covered in black fog. That was the extremely condensed power of devouring. When his divine dragon body roared, everyone in the small border town was immediately awakened. Everyone raised their heads and stared at the sky in shock. Dragon King. They had never thought that they would see a Dragon King appear in this small town. The people who had been observing in the inn were also shocked. Some people who had been gloating over the misfortune of others now had very interesting expressions on their faces. They had never thought that this black-robed young man would be a Dragon King blood essence inheritor. This level was much stronger than those four fellows. No wonder he dared to provoke those four fellows so boldly. This person is actually the Dragon King. The four heavenly dragon inheritors, who were flying in the sky and showing off their prowess, froze on the spot when they saw the black dragon appear. They maintained their inertia and circled in the sky, their eyes filled with shock and fear. They had planned to show off their prowess and enjoy the little beauty after winning. However, it seemed that they were dreaming if they wanted to defeat Kong Shinmu. According to their inherited heavenly dragon blood essence, they would need to be at least at the reincarnation rebirth realm to deal with a Dragon King at the 2nd tier of the Nirvana rebirth realm. However, they were only at the 7th or 8th tier of the Nirvana rebirth realm. Moreover, that was only to deal with an ordinary Dragon King. The current Kong Shinmu was not an ordinary Dragon King at all. What's wrong? Do you want to fight? Kong Shinmu's indifferent voice rang out. Countless black devouring power erupted from the body of the black dragon that he had transformed into and instantly condensed into a Shadow Dragon Sky-Raising Strike. The Shadow Dragon Sky-Raising Strike was an origin source dragon martial technique. Moreover, Kong Shinmu had already cultivated it to the heaven grade. Suddenly, several black divine dragon shadows appeared in the void and condensed black dragon cannons in their mouths, blasting towards the four people. The horrifying power nearly enveloped the darkening sky. The four heavenly dragon wandering dragon martialists immediately fled into the distance. Spare me, spare me. I won't dare to do it again. Don't kill me, don't kill me. They begged for mercy as they fled, but Kong Shinmu would not show them any mercy. These people did not look like good people. If Kong Shinmu did not have such strength, they would have lost their lives today. Why would Kong Shinmu spare them? The Shadow Dragon's Sky-Raising Strike arrived without any mercy. Immediately, the terrifying power blasted the four heavenly dragon martial artists away, causing them to land on the barren land outside the town. This attack alone was not enough to kill them, but it was enough to make them lose their fighting strength. One strike to determine the universe. Jiang Xinwu had shocked the entire place with just a single move. Everyone in the small town at the border was shocked by this. Originally, there were still some petty people who might have had thoughts about the Fire Phoenix Princess. But now, no one dared to have any thoughts about the Fire Phoenix Duke. Kong Xinmu saw that the four people were seriously injured and did not attack again. There was no meaning in bullying the weak. Since the other party had already been taught a lesson, he would let them go. He believed that after this, the four wandering dragon martial artists would have to hide everything they did. It would be impossible for them to be as bold as before. Immediately, Kong Xinmu returned to his human form and returned to the entrance of the inn. Where's the Fire Phoenix Princess? Kong Xinmu was surprised that he did not see the Fire Phoenix Princess when he returned. Did you see where she went? Kong Xinmu asked the middle-aged innkeeper who had been standing at the entrance of the inn. I didn't notice. She was just here? The middle-aged innkeeper looked at Kong Xinmu and immediately broke out in a cold sweat. He looked left and right but he didn't see the princess at all. Instantly, his eyes revealed a trace of fear. Chapter 4205. When Kong Xinmu realized that the Fire Phoenix Princess had disappeared, he couldn't find her no matter where he looked. His expression turned ugly. In just a short while, she had disappeared? He didn't think that the four ruffian dragon martial artists deliberately came to distract him. It should be an accident. He didn't expect that someone would take advantage of the loophole and take the Fire Phoenix Princess away. Young master, this has nothing to do with me. I didn't see anything. The middle-aged innkeeper was already scared out of his wits. He was just an ordinary person and was afraid that Kong Xinmu would find trouble with him. But Kong Xinmu wouldn't go so far as to argue with an ordinary person. Moreover, it wasn't the innkeeper's fault. It's fine. Kong Xinmu waved his hand. He turned around and a pitch-black devouring power surged out from his body. It wrapped around his entire body, making him look like a demon god that had walked out of hell. Mysterious Dragon Seeking Shadow. This dragon martial skill has finally come in handy. Kong Xinmu thought. This was a dragon martial skill that he had previously cultivated for tracking. If an ordinary person cultivated it, the effect wouldn't be too strong. But now, Kong Xinmu had used the devouring power to devour the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon's blood essence in the Fire Phoenix Princess's body. Therefore, he used the devouring power to execute the mysterious dragon seeking shadow, and easily found the other party's current location. Very quickly, a pitch-black line wandered out of the border town from his body. That was the Fire Phoenix Princess's current location. Almost no one could detect the pitch-black line with the naked eye. Even with the perception of a dragon martial artist, it was impossible to detect the existence of the pitch-black line unless there was some special method to detect it. And Kong Xinmu used the pitch-black line to chase out of the border town as fast as he could. Along the way, he could smell the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon's blood essence. It was obvious that the Fire Phoenix Princess had been taken away. The other party's speed is so fast. I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with. Kong Xinmu didn't know who the other party was. His expression was somewhat solemn, but no matter who it was, he wouldn't let the Fire Phoenix Princess be taken away under his eyes. The moon rose and its moonlight shone on the earth. Kong Xinmu chased for over 100 miles. He transformed into a black dragon and moved at an extremely fast speed. The other party's speed was also extremely fast. Even after running for over 100 miles, Kong Xinmu was still unable to catch up to him. Unfortunately, in the end, he was unable to escape Kong Xinmu's pursuit. Xiao Chen continuously executed the extreme shadow-flowing light dragon martial technique and charged forward at his fastest speed. Finally, he saw a black dragon that was over 4,000 meters long in the night sky. It was moving quickly in the night sky. Under the black dragon's claw was the Fire Phoenix Princess. At this moment, the Fire Phoenix Princess was already unconscious. She must have been drugged. Who are you? Why did you take her away? Kong Xinmu chased after him and asked in a cold voice. The two black dragons, one in front and one behind, fled under the night sky above a dense forest. Humph! The other party snorted. It was actually a woman's voice. However, there was not the slightest emotion in the voice. It was obvious that she was not an ordinary dragon martial artist. Instead, she was a dragon martial artist who specialized in carrying out secret operations. Many of these dragon martial artists were specially nurtured by the Dragon Emperor's country to do some shameful things. Seeing that the other party did not answer, Kong Shinmu was a little puzzled. He thought to himself, could it be that the Qiuhuang Dragon Country's royal family sent someone? No matter what, he would not let the Fire Phoenix Princess be taken away. Stop! Void Dragon raises the sky. Jiang Xinwu chased after him at his fastest speed. Immediately after, he unleashed the Shadow Dragon raising the heavens break, the Dragon Source martial technique. A total of 6 pitch-black dragon shadows appeared in the night sky and completely surrounded the black dragon in front of him. Then, 6 pitch-black dragon cannons instantly erupted. Like the scythe of death from hell, they swept towards the black dragon. A terrifying power instantly exploded in mid-air. I originally didn't want to touch you, but you chased after me yourself. You're simply courting death. The black dragon immediately let out a cold snort. She was an inherited dragon martial artist of the Dragon King's realm. She also had a cultivation of the 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Dragon King against Dragon King. Her cultivation was even higher than Kong Shinmu's by such a large margin. Naturally, she did not think that Kong Shinmu would be her match. A kind of dark attribute energy spread out from her divine dragon body and wrapped around her divine dragon body. It actually caused her entire divine dragon body to become a little faintly discernible and translucent. Immediately after, the 6 pitch-black dragon cannons bombarded her divine dragon body. They were actually weakened to the point that there was not much power left. It was impossible for them to injure the other party. She's very strong. Kong Shinmu's heart trembled. He had originally sensed that the other party was at the 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm and knew that there would be some twists and turns in this battle. However, he did not expect the other party to be so strong. With just a casual move, she was able to defend against his strongest dragon martial skill. Of course, his real trump card did not lie in this, but in the devouring power. Therefore, taking advantage of this opportunity, before the other party could attack, he closed in and tightly grabbed the other party's divine dragon body with his dragon claws. Immediately after, the devouring power spread out and began to devour the dark attribute energy that covered the other party's divine dragon body. Therefore, as Kong Shinmu devoured the dark attribute energy, his resistance to the dark attribute energy would become stronger and stronger. Defense was what Kong Shinmu needed to do the most now. As for attacking, that would have to wait until he could protect his life first. If it was anyone else, it would be impossible for them to go forward and fight when there was a difference of 5 levels between them. However, for Kong Shinmu, it was not impossible to defeat the other party. You're courting death. The slender black dragon let out a cold snort. Immediately after, countless pitch-black sword chi erupted from the black dragon's body. Due to the close distance, Kong Shinmu could not dodge at all. The entire body of the black dragon was instantly penetrated by the countless pitch-black sword chi. Blood immediately burst out. But Kong Shinmu did not retreat in the slightest. Even though there was tearing pain all over his body, he still tried his best to avoid the vital parts. Then, he took the opportunity to launch the Void Dragon raising the heavens break again. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he exchanged injuries with the other party. 6 dragon cannons took this opportunity to sweep over. With a loud bang, 6 small holes were blasted on the other party's black dragon body. This was even because the other party used the defensive dragon martial technique. Otherwise, Kong Shinmu could kill the other party with this method alone. It could be seen that the other party did not cultivate any body-tempering dragon martial technique. But Kong Shinmu was heavily injured. This exchange made the other party feel that Kong Shinmu was dead for sure. After all, she only used one move to heavily injure Kong Shinmu, while she only suffered light injuries. With the protection of the defensive dragon martial technique, she was sure that Kong Shinmu could not kill her. But she would definitely be able to kill this boy. In the next moment, just as she was about to continue attacking, she suddenly felt a strange feeling. Kong Shinmu's devouring power had already taken this opportunity to enter her divine dragon body. It penetrated deep into her wounds and started to devour her blood and flesh essence. Chapter 4206. Kong Shinmu began to devour his opponent's flesh, blood, and life essence with his devouring power. His injuries began to heal slowly. Of course, his opponent did not know this. At this moment, Everything was shrouded in darkness. In the midst of an intense battle, it was difficult to notice the minute changes in his opponent's divine dragon body. However, his opponent had a bad feeling when she felt Kong Shinmu's devouring power invading her body. His opponent's battle experience was extremely rich, and she immediately used another dragon technique. Dark Dragon Filth Resistance. This was a first-grade origin dragon technique, and it had been cultivated to the extreme by his opponent. It was a heaven-grade technique. As soon as she used this technique, the 6 small wounds on her body began to heal at an extremely fast speed. In almost an instant, her body was smooth and undamaged, as if she had not been injured at all. Kong Shinmu's devouring power could no longer invade her body. However, a wisp of devouring power had already entered her divine dragon body, invading and wreaking havoc in her body. This made her feel extremely uncomfortable. Even though she used the powerful recovery dragon technique, the Dark Dragon Filth Resistance, she could not dispel the wisp of devouring power in her body. She could only let the wisp of devouring power wreak havoc in her body. Of course, if it was only a wisp of devouring power, it would dissipate after devouring some life essence. With this wisp of devouring power, Kong Shinmu's injuries from the Dark Sword Chi were almost completely healed, and his resistance to dark attribute energy was much stronger than before. It's a pity that it's a little difficult to hurt her again, Kong Shinmu thought to himself. Although he was in a passive position in a battle against a strong opponent with his devouring power, it was very likely that he could turn the tables in the end. Only when facing this person in front of him did Kong Shinmu feel a little helpless. His opponent's recovery speed was too fast. It was not inferior to the recovery speed of his devouring power devouring the opponent's flesh, blood, and essence. That dragon martial technique, the Dark Dragon Filth Controlling Art, healed all her injuries in an instant, causing Kong Shinmu to have no idea where to start. Although this dragon warrior did not cultivate a body-tempering dragon martial skill, just by relying on the defensive dragon martial skill and the recovery dragon martial skill, it was already quite resistant to beatings. Needless to say, if she cultivated a body-tempering dragon martial skill, what kind of degree of resistance would she have? He was almost as good as Kong Shinmu. Of course, if Kong Shinmu's realm was similar to his opponent's, then he wouldn't have had the chance to heal his injuries. Unfortunately, Kong Shinmu was much weaker than his opponent. His strength was completely suppressed by his opponent, to the extent that he was unable to make another breakthrough. "Give her to me and I'll let you go." Kong Shinmu lowered his voice and said coldly. "If you leave now, I won't make things difficult for you." His opponent snorted coldly and did not intend to return the Fire Phoenix Princess. And in the short confrontation just now, Kong Shinmu realized that his opponent seemed to be protecting the Fire Phoenix Princess. He should have some mission to bring the Fire Phoenix Princess back safely. Since that was the case, Kong Shinmu thought of a way. Void Dragon Raising Heaven Break. Kong Shinmu took advantage of the time his opponent was talking and ignored him. Instead, he directly used the Dragon Origin martial skill. The Void Dragon Raising Heaven Break 6 dragon cannons suddenly rushed forward. One of them even shot towards the unconscious Fire Phoenix Princess. Of course, Kong Shinmu did not want to kill the Fire Phoenix Princess, but to restrain his opponent. As expected, when she discovered that one of Kong Shinmu's dragon cannons was attacking the Fire Phoenix Princess, his opponent subconsciously wanted to protect her. A wave of dark energy suddenly came and blocked the Fire Phoenix Princess. It was even stronger than when she was protecting herself. However, when she protected herself like this, the other places were not as strong. Shadow Dragon Fong Transformation. Kong Shinmu used the 3rd-grade dragon attack martial skill. Immediately, countless devouring power turned into Shadow Dragon Fong and attacked his opponent's entire body. His opponent's defensive dragon martial skill was given to the Fire Phoenix Princess. It was impossible to defend the other parts of his body. Anyway, his opponent's defense was very weak. Kong Shinmu did not need a powerful dragon martial skill. He only needed a wide attack range. Shadow Dragon Fong Transformation met this requirement. Immediately, countless shadow dragon teeth came from all directions and bombarded the opponent's body, creating countless small holes in the opponent's body. Although these small holes were not fatal, for Kong Shinmu, they were extremely good breakthroughs. Humph! Dark Dragon Filth Control. His opponent snorted coldly. She seemed to feel that Kong Shinmu was a bit despicable. He actually used the Fire Phoenix Princess to restrain her. However, it had already happened. She could only make up for it as soon as possible. She once again used the Source Dragon martial skill, Dark Dragon Filth Control. Countless dark energy covered her entire body. Then, the countless small holes on her body were completely healed. Unfortunately, in this instant, Kong Shinmu's devouring power had already invaded her opponent's body from countless places. Devour! Kong Shinmu did not hesitate. He instantly activated the devouring power in his opponent's body and devoured the opponent's flesh and blood essence. The originally slender and energetic black dragon started to become a bit dispirited at this moment. The devouring power that Kong Shinmu had invaded his opponent's body at the same time was simply too much. His opponent could not react at all. Immediately, all of her flesh and blood essence were devoured. However, at this moment, Kong Shinmu felt that the devouring power that he had invaded his opponent's body seemed to have encountered a wall at the same time. Dark Dragon Filth Control. His opponent gritted her teeth and once again used this dragon martial skill. It was this dragon martial skill. His opponent actually used dark energy to block the devouring power all over his body, preventing it from going to other places to devour the flesh and blood essence. After all, every bit of Kong Shinmu's invading devouring power was too weak. It could not overcome his opponent's power in her body. Therefore, it was completely blocked. He could only devour the flesh and blood essence on the spot. However, very soon, the flesh and blood essence in that area were completely devoured. There was nothing else that could be devoured. Dark Dragon Filth Control. What kind of dragon martial skill is this? It's so powerful? Kong Shinmu was a little shocked. However, on second thought, this wasn't Source Dragon martial skill after all. It was very normal for it to have such a special effect. However, after his opponent used it, it would not be so easy for Kong Shinmu to continue to deal with his opponent. His injuries had completely healed, but his opponent had not weakened much. In terms of strength, Kong Shinmu was still much weaker than his opponent. This time, Kong Shinmu finally felt that the power he controlled was not enough. Looks like I have to quickly accumulate experience points and exchange them for more Source Dragon martial skills at Donghuang Yonggu College to cultivate. Chapter 4207. Right now, Kong Shinmu and the slender black dragon were in a stalemate. Their divine dragon bodies were pressed against each other. Kong Shinmu was unable to defeat the other party, and the other party could not do anything to Kong Shinmu. This was because the moment the other party had any intention of attacking Kong Shinmu would immediately attack the Fire Phoenix Princess, causing the other party to retract their attack on Kong Shinmu. You! The black dragon was so angry that she was half dead. As long as she was the slightest bit careless, Kong Shinmu would find an opportunity to strike his devouring power into her body. This made her feel extremely uncomfortable. Moreover, she could feel that Kong Shinmu had completely recovered, as if he was not injured at all. How was this a normal second-level Nirvana Tribulation Realm? If it was a normal second-level Nirvana Tribulation Realm, she would have easily killed him. What about you? Hand the Fire Phoenix Princess to me. You go your way, I'll go mine. Kong Shinmu said coldly. He did not give in at all. Do you know who she is? The black dragon asked with a sneer. Of course I know. She is the Fire Phoenix Princess of Xueqi Dragon Country. Kong Shinmu said coldly, but she is not happy in Xueqi Dragon Country. She has been abused by her father since she was young, so I want to take her away. Then who are you? What right do you have to take her away? The other party was actually trying to reason with Kong Shinmu, and at the same time, trying to distract Kong Shinmu's attention. However, she realized that no matter what, Kong Shinmu was extremely focused. He would never give her an opportunity to take advantage of him. If she wanted to kill Kong Shinmu, then the Fire Phoenix Princess would definitely be killed by Kong Shinmu. She would not be able to complete her mission. Therefore, she could only slowly stall for time and look for an opportunity. I'm her friend. I'm going to take her to Donghuang Yonggu College and let her live a good life alone. Kong Shinmu coldly said, I don't know who ordered you to take her away, but if the other party is the so-called Dragon Emperor of the Phoenix Dragon Country, I advise you to let go. I won't let you succeed. Are you from Donghuang Yonggu College? Kong Shinmu's words shocked the other party. That's right. I'm a student of Donghuang Yonggu College. Kong Shinmu said calmly. This? The other party's eyes widened in disbelief. Immediately after, She looked at where Kong Shinmu's dragon claw was and discovered that there was indeed a unique mark on Kong Shinmu's dragon claw. It was Chu Yueqiang's mark and it carried the aura of the East Emperor seal of Donghuang Yonggu College. There was no mistake. This made the slender black dragon lose all her strength. Why didn't you say earlier that you're a student of Donghuang Yonggu College? The other party let out a bitter laugh. If Kong Shinmu had that mark, it meant that he could summon his mentor at any time. If that was the case, the other party would not be Kong Shinmu's opponent at all. Even if she was lucky enough to kill a student of Donghuang Yonggu College, she would have completely offended Donghuang Yonggu College. The organization would definitely give up on her. It was impossible for her to betray the organization. She thought that this mission was only a small one, to bring back a Fire Phoenix princess from the Phoenix Dragon country. In the end, she did not expect that the other party was actually a student of Donghuang Yonggu College. She thought to herself that Phoenix Dragon country must have concealed this information. Otherwise, the organization would definitely not be willing to provoke a student of Donghuang Yonggu College. Now that things had come to this, if things got out of hand, she would definitely be the one to be abandoned. Thinking back, it seemed that from the moment she accepted this mission, she had already fallen into a dead end. Regardless of whether she completed the mission or not, she would have to face a colossus like Donghuang Yonggu College. At that time, the organization would definitely push her out. Only death awaited her. Thinking of this, she closed her eyes. Immediately after, Kong Shinmu felt a terrifying power erupt from the slender black dragon that he was holding tightly in his dragon claw. It wreaked havoc in her body and in an instant, she lost her breath. Blood burst out from her body and she fell to the ground. Suicide. This situation made Kong Shinmu stunned. This black dragon had actually committed suicide. It seemed to be despair because she did not complete the mission, and it also seemed to be despair because she was a student of Donghuang Yonggu College. Kong Shinmu really did not understand why the other party would commit suicide. However, he still moved forward as fast as he could and grabbed the unconscious Fire Phoenix princess in his dragon claw. At this moment, the slender black dragon's body finally landed in the dense forest below. Kong Shinmu was a little conflicted. After thinking for a moment, he flew down and checked. He found that although the meridians in her body were broken, she still had a breath left in her body. It was just that she was unconscious like the Fire Phoenix princess. Should I save her? Kong Shinmu thought to himself. The other party's appearance was too inexplicable. He did not want the other party to die just like that. Otherwise, how would he be able to find the organization behind the other party? He held the Fire Phoenix princess's soft and delicate body in his arms and landed next to the black dragon. His face sank slightly as he stretched out his hand and sent his devouring power into the other party's body. Not long after, the life essence of all the flowers, plants, and trees within a radius of 3 miles was completely devoured by Kong Shinmu. Immediately after, the life essence was sent into the slender black dragon's body. When dawn came, other than being unconscious, the black dragon's injuries had actually mostly recovered. Although it would still take a long time to recover her combat strength, her life was no longer in danger. She would be able to fully recover after resting for a period of time. This was the terrifying part of the devouring power. As long as it could absorb the life essence, it would be able to easily heal anyone, unless they were completely dead. And right now, this black dragon did not even think that Jiang Shenwu would save her, and when she shattered her meridians, she did not pay any special attention to it. He had casually knocked her unconscious. According to her expectations, her corpse would definitely be exposed in the wilderness and she would die here. In the end, Kong Shinmu actually saved her. Of course, now that she was unconscious, she did not know anything. Kong Shinmu looked at the slender black dragon that was more than 400 meters long. After thinking for a moment, he used his devouring power to corrode the other party's body and stimulate her bloodline. In a situation where the other party was unconscious, this method could allow the other party to return from the divine dragon form to human form. If he did not let the other party return to human form, it would be very difficult for Kong Shinmu to take her away. He wanted to investigate who had sent this person to take the Fire Phoenix princess away. The black dragon form immediately shrank and quickly appeared in front of Kong Shinmu. It was a young girl wearing tight black clothes and a black veil. Her long hair fluttered in the wind and her beautiful eyes were tightly shut. She looked sad and beautiful. When a martial artist transformed into a dragon, it was the transformation of the flesh into a dragon. It would not burst the clothes on the body, so when it returned to human form, it was naturally still wearing clothes. Chapter 4208. Of course, Kong Shinmu wouldn't have any ill intentions towards her. He only sighed, feeling that this was troublesome. Right now, the Fire Phoenix Princess and the black-clothed girl were both unconscious, so he had to bring them along. Let's bring them back to rest first. Kong Shinmu thought for a moment before turning into a black dragon and grabbing them. Then, he flew towards the border town. At night, to prevent any accidents, Kong Shinmu didn't separate from the two girls. Instead, he rented a room in the inn. After entering, he placed the two girls on the bed. As for himself, he planned to meditate by the window for the night. This was the safest situation. If someone suddenly took them away, Kong Shinmu might not even know about it. The black-clothed girl was fine, but if the Fire Phoenix Princess was taken away, Kong Shinmu wouldn't even have time to regret it. After all, he truly felt that the Fire Phoenix Princess was a good person. Moreover, she wanted a new life, so he brought her to the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City and made arrangements for her. No matter what, since Kong Shinmu treated the Fire Phoenix Princess as a friend, he couldn't leave her alone. Midnight. Kong Shinmu heard a delicate cry from the bed. He turned around and saw that the Fire Phoenix Princess had woken up. Ah! The Fire Phoenix Princess cried out as soon as she woke up. Her pure and cute face was covered in sweat and her pair of beautiful eyes were filled with nervousness. After waking up, she was still at a loss, not knowing what kind of situation she was in. "You're awake." Kong Shinmu turned around and nodded at her. "Young master." The Fire Phoenix Princess saw Kong Shinmu by the window and finally heaved a sigh of relief. Her heartbeat slowly calmed down. "I dreamed that I was taken away." "You were indeed taken away, but I saved you," Kong Shinmu said. "What?" The Fire Phoenix Princess's face instantly paled. "Who wanted to take me away?" "She's beside you." She also fainted. Kong Shinmu shook his head and raised his hand towards her. The Fire Phoenix Princess lowered her head. Only then did she realize that beside her, there was actually a black-clothed young girl lying down. The young girl had a head full of long hair, and her appearance was actually extremely cute and charming. Her entire body was perfect, without a single trace of fat, and the black tight clothes she wore vividly outlined her perfect figure. The black veil on her face had been removed by Kong Shinmu. Originally, Kong Shinmu wanted to see if there were any clues to identify her, but after taking off the veil, he found no clues except for her delicate and lovely face. "Who is she?" The Fire Phoenix Princess could not help but ask. "I don't know." Kong Shinmu shrugged and recounted what had just happened. He actually chose suicide? The Fire Phoenix Princess furrowed her brows and looked at the mark on the girl's forehead. She seemed to have thought of something. Could it be the Dark Dragon Group from the Sacred Abyss Dragon Country? Dark Dragon Group. Kong Shinmu was a little surprised. "What organization is that?" "It's an underground assassin organization," the Fire Phoenix Princess said. The Fire Phoenix Princess said, although it's an assassin organization, it also accepts many shameful missions at the same time. Many of the surrounding Dragon Emperor nations will find them to do business with, and they will do some shameful things. Could it be that my father found the Dark Dragon Group to capture me? Dark Dragon Group. How much do you know about this organization? Kong Shinmu asked with a frown. "I don't know much, but I know quite a bit." The Fire Phoenix Princess said, "In the past, I didn't have any cultivation resources and didn't need to cultivate, so I read a lot of books in the library. There are records of this organization, and I know that our Chohuang Dragon Country's royal family has always been in contact with the Dark Dragon Group. This organization's discipline is very strict. Basically, the assassins under them have been trained since they were young. The assassins only have missions in their eyes. Just like what young master said just now, this girl only wanted to bring me back, so everything else was secondary. It's just that when she heard that you were a student of Donghuang Yonggu College, she chose to commit suicide because she felt that she had fallen into a desperate situation. When Kong Shinmu heard this, he was a little puzzled. He asked, "Fallen into a desperate situation? No one wants to kill her, so how could she be in a desperate situation?" Actually, Kong Shinmu was very puzzled. He was originally in a stalemate with the other party, but in the end, the other party suddenly committed suicide, causing him to be confused. Because if the mission fails, she will be executed by the organization. Even if the mission succeeds, young master, you are a student of Donghuang Yonggu College. When the people of Donghuang Yonggu College come knocking, they will definitely hand her over to die. The Fire Phoenix Princess shook her head and said, so when she received this mission, unless young master doesn't pursue it, she will definitely die. This organization is so cruel and tyrannical? Kong Shinmu had heard of similar organizations before, but he had never seen them with his own eyes. This time, he had finally experienced it. Yes. The Fire Phoenix Princess had a lingering fear in her heart. After thinking about it, other than my father, it is impossible for anyone else to spend a large amount of money to hire the Dark Dragon Group to capture me. He still hasn't told the Dark Dragon Group that I am a member of Donghuang Yonggu College. Kong Shinmu said indifferently. Because once he says it, the Dark Dragon Group will not accept this mission. The Fire Phoenix Princess shook her head and said, that's right. Kong Shinmu frowned slightly. Since you already know the culprit, what do you want to do? The Fire Phoenix Princess pursed her lips, finding it difficult to make a decision. The other party was her biological father, but he had always treated her too badly. He even frequently took away her butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon's blood essence, causing her to almost die in the wilderness. As a princess, she had never received any cultivation resources since she was young. She was probably the most pitiful princess in history. Young master, shall we bring this lady to Donghuang Dragon Martial City? Soon, she thought of an idea. In Donghuang Dragon Martial City, even if the Dark Dragon Group wants to get rid of her, they can't chase after her. She can live there forever, and I can stay with her. As for my father, just tell the Dark Dragon Group that you are a student of Donghuang Yonggu College. The Dark Dragon Group will naturally find trouble with him. Although they won't kill him, they will teach him a lesson. The Fire Phoenix Princess still had some complaints about her father. Then let's do that. Kong Shinmu nodded. He had no objections to bringing the black-clothed female killer to Donghuang Dragon Martial City. In any case, when she woke up, he would explain the situation to her and see if she was willing to go. In any case, Kong Shinmu didn't want to see a young girl in the prime of her life die like this. There was one more thing, and that was that Kong Shinmu was very interested in the Source Dragon martial technique she cultivated, the Dark Dragon Filth controlling art. It would be great if he could learn it. Chapter 4209. After a night of rest, the black-clothed female killer still hadn't woken up. Kong Shinmu didn't know the exact reason for the time being, so he could only bring the unconscious her along. It would take them about a month to travel from Xueqi Dragon Country to Donghuang Dragon Martial City based on their current speed. During this month, Princess Fire Phoenix followed Kong Shinmu. They passed through some desolate areas along the way, and occasionally obtained some treasures that contained a lot of spiritual energy. Kong Shinmu didn't take these treasures for himself. Instead, he gave a portion to Princess Fire Phoenix so that she could recover her butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon Inheritance blood essence as soon as possible. Without the replenishment of treasures, it would probably take several years for her to recover to her peak state. That would take too long. Kong Shinmu couldn't bear to see her continue to be so weak. Moreover, after she absorbed the treasures, Kong Shinmu could also choose to devour a portion of the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon Inheritance blood essence. That way, he could permanently increase his resistance against fire-type powers. After they left Xueqi Dragon Country, they basically didn't encounter anything. Along the way, because Princess Fire Phoenix had a special mark on her body, the monsters along the way didn't attack them. This is a mark left by my friends in Xueqi Forest. It's a mark recognized by the monsters as their friends. Princess Fire Phoenix extended her hand. There was a unique mark on her slender snow-white wrist. There was a monster's aura on it. It was clearly engraved by a monster. Kong Shinmu hadn't noticed this before. But this was a good thing for him. This mark can only last for a short period of time. After about a year it will dissipate. However, at least within this year, there won't be any demon beasts coming to cause trouble for me. Even if I intrude into their territory, they won't attack me. They will only remind me to leave as soon as possible. Princess Fire Phoenix looked at the mark on her wrist. She still missed the time in Xueqi Forest. Every time her father took away the butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon Inheritance blood essence, she would be extremely weak. Then, She would run to Chuehuang Forest to see some monster friends, such as the little fox beauty. However, she knew in her heart that since Jiang Xinwu had already cured her, she could leave the Seeking Phoenix Dragon Country and start a new life. She couldn't possibly stay in the Seeking Phoenix Forest and associate with the demonic beasts. It was not that she looked down on demonic beasts, but she was a human after all. She was a dragon martial artist. She could not possibly spend her entire life with demonic beasts, right? She also wanted to become stronger. She had a dream in her heart, and that was to become a character like the Chuehuang Dragon Country's founding emperor. After all, she had the same inherited blood essence as her. One day, she should be able to realize her dream, right? Once she reached the level of the Dragon Emperor, she might be able to return to Chuehuang Dragon Country and turn it into an even more powerful country. This was her dream. 1 month later, the two of them turned into dragons and flew into the territory of the Azure Dragon Nation with the black-clothed female assassin. When they arrived at the Azure Dragon Nation, they were not far from the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City. Kong Xinmu had once been forcefully imprisoned for half a year in the territory of the Dragon Emperor's country. Although he had made up for that injustice, it still taught Kong Xinmu a huge lesson. He knew that he had to be careful no matter what he did in the future. She still hasn't woken up. What's going on? Kong Xinmu furrowed his brows. From time to time, he would size up the black-clothed female assassin. It had to be said that the black-clothed female assassin was extremely beautiful. She was one of the world's top beauties. Moreover, her appearance was pure and she did not look any inferior to the Fire Phoenix Princess. Now, aside from being a little weak, there were no other problems with her body. In fact, she was not even as weak as the Fire Phoenix Princess. However, she still could not wake up. He did not know what was going on either. When they arrived at the Azure Dragon Nation's territory, Kong Xinmu became even more anxious. He brought the two girls towards the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City. Finally, another 7 days passed. Kong Xinmu could already see the mighty divine dragon in the distant sky. That was Donghuang Yongwu College. Donghuang Yongwu College. No matter when one saw it, they would always feel incomparably shocked. Especially now, when the Fire Phoenix Princess saw Donghuang Yongwu College, a sense of heroism surged from her chest. This was the place where true dragon warriors were, the place where super divine dragons were cultivated. She had previously had her butterfly Fire Phoenix Dragon's blood essence taken away from her in the Chuehuang Dragon Nation. She had become weaker and weaker. Now that she thought about it, those days were practically dark. At this moment, the moment she saw Donghuang Yongwu College, some kind of shackle in her heart was finally broken. She finally believed that she had arrived in a new world. Let's go! Kong Xinmu led her forward. He transformed into a black divine dragon and flew towards Donghuang Yongwu College in the form of the Dragon King. That was where the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City was located. Countless dragon warriors who did not qualify to join Donghuang Yongwu College would gather in the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City. On one hand, this was the place where dragon warriors gathered the most, and the trade of resources that dragon warriors needed for their cultivation was the most flourishing. On the other hand, the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City would open a trial every year. As long as one was not over a certain age, they were qualified to participate in the Eastern Emperor trial. Young dragon warriors who passed the trial would have the opportunity to join Donghuang Yongwu College and become students of Donghuang Yongwu College. This was the only way to join Donghuang Yongwu College, other than through the various Dragon Emperor Holy Towers. Therefore, regardless of whether it was spring, summer, autumn, or winter, there were many dragon warriors in the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City who wanted to join Donghuang Yongwu College and stayed there. There were even some dragon warriors who stayed here all year round to cultivate in order to join Donghuang Yongwu College. They stayed here for decades. In the end, if they did not get the opportunity, they could only leave in dejection. However, the experience of these decades was extremely valuable to the dragon warriors. As long as their talent was not too bad, it was very possible for them to enter the Dragon Emperor realm. Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City. East of the city. Kong Xinmu brought the Fire Phoenix Princess and personally carried the black-clothed female assassin to a more exquisite inn. As the Fire Phoenix Princess was very weak, it was difficult for her to transform into a dragon. Therefore, most of the time, it was Kong Xinmu who carried her. After returning to her human form, The Fire Phoenix Princess could not carry the black-clothed female assassin in her weak state. Therefore, Kong Shinmu had to do it himself. When he carried the young girl into the city, he had attracted a lot of attention along the way. However, Kong Shinmu did not care. Chapter 42:10. When he arrived in front of that exquisite inn, Kong Shinmu stopped. The reason why he chose this inn was not because of its location, nor was it because it was vast, nor was it because of its exquisite decorations. It was because there was a mahogany sign at the entrance of this inn, free for students. When Kong Shinmu entered from outside the city, he saw this inn not long after. It was very obvious that this inn was free for students of Donghuang Yonggu College. This left Kong Shinmu with no reason to choose another inn. He carried the black-clothed female assassin, and behind him was the Fire Phoenix Princess. The two girls were devastatingly beautiful and attracted many pointing gazes. However, when he stepped into the inn, he discovered that the entire environment seemed to have suddenly changed. The clamor in the surroundings suddenly disappeared. When Kong Shinmu stepped in, he saw that the hall of the inn was filled with lush greenery. There were emerald green vines everywhere, and the fragrant air made him feel relaxed and happy the moment he entered. There was not a single person in the entire hall of the inn, causing Kong Shinmu to frown slightly. He slowly walked into the inn and suddenly heard a voice. "Yo, isn't this brother Kong Shinmu? How come you have the time to come here today?" This voice was somewhat familiar, but he definitely hadn't seen it for a while. When he heard this voice, the corner of Kong Shinmu's mouth slightly curled. "So it's Brother Chu. I brought 2 friends to stay here. Why are you here?" Immediately after, a confident and elegant figure appeared in front of them. He wore a green robe and had long hair that fluttered in the wind, giving off a kind of ethereal feeling. It was the little brother who joined Donghuang Yonggu College together with Kong Shinmu, Xueqi. When he first joined Donghuang Yonggu College, Kong Shinmu and Xueqi could be considered to have met once. However, after that, Kong Shinmu followed Chu Yueqiang and Xueqi followed Tan Shouzhua, so they never met again. Who would have thought that they would actually meet in this place? Sigh. It's hard to explain in a few words. When Xueqi heard Kong Shinmu's question, his face immediately became gloomy. "Originally, I heard that the lady boss of this charming and gentle inn is a peerless beauty, so I planned to stay here and meet the lady boss. But I've been staying here for more than half a month, and I haven't even seen the lady boss once." Ha ha ha, if you want to meet the lady boss, you need to be fated. Not everyone can meet her. A tender laughter came from the side. Then, everyone saw an elegant and mature woman dressed in a red robe. She slowly walked out with a sweet smile on her face. "Little brother Chu, if you can't see the lady boss, it means that you're not fated to meet her. Big sister Shaman, don't be so sarcastic." Xueqi shook his head, feeling extremely depressed. It could be seen that when the lady boss wasn't around, the red-robed Sherman was in charge of the charming and gentle inn. Of course, to Kong Shinmu, he simply didn't care whether the lady boss was around or not. He looked at the mature and elegant woman dressed in a red robe and politely asked, "I'm Kong Shinmu from Donghuang Yonggu College. I wonder if I can rent a room here?" "Of course, and it's free." The mature and elegant woman in a red robe, Lin Sherman, faintly smiled. However, she glanced at the black-clothed girl in Kong Shinmu's arms and the Fire Phoenix Princess behind him. Her black brows slightly furrowed. "However, if you let your friends stay here, it can't be free. I can only give you some discounts." "Is that so?" Kong Shinmu blanked, then immediately shook his head. It seemed that he was thinking too much. He naturally wouldn't stay here himself. Instead, he would let the Fire Phoenix Princess and the black-clothed girl assassin stay here. If everyone brought their friend to rent a room for free like him, then wouldn't this inn not need to earn money? All right, discounts are fine. Kong Shinmu nodded. Discounts were fine as it was cheaper than other places. "Wow, Brother Jiang, where did you find these 2 little beauties?" At this time, Xueqi, who had been immersed in the sorrow of not being able to see the lady boss, finally saw the faces of the Fire Phoenix Princess and the black-clothed girl clearly. He couldn't help but be shocked, and his expression became somewhat ambiguous. "Amazing, no wonder I don't see you every day. So it turns out that you found a beauty and went to have fun." With his status as a student of Donghuang Yonggu College, it was extremely easy to find a female companion in Donghuang Yonggu City. But generally speaking, dragon martial artists who could enter Donghuang Yonggu College really wouldn't fancy ordinary women. Of course, top-grade beauties like the Fire Phoenix Princess and the Black-Clothed Girl were another matter. In Xueqi's opinion, whether it was their appearance or figure, they were the best of the best. He couldn't pick out any flaws at all. Don't talk nonsense, they're just my friends. When Kong Xinmu heard Xueqi's exaggerated words, he couldn't help but be somewhat puzzled. Did he look like such a frivolous person? Hee, don't explain, brother, I understand. Xueqi had this kind of personality. He laughed mischievously, then waved his hand. I won't disturb your happy time with the beauties. Let big sister Sherman bring you in first. After saying this, he turned around and swaggered out of the inn. Even if he wanted to see the lady boss of this inn, he couldn't stay here all day long. He was very clear that to him, cultivation was always the most important thing, and if he wanted to cultivating in Donghuang Yonggu College was naturally the best. There was the best cultivation resources and environment. No other place could compare. Please. After Xueqi left, the mature red-clothed girl Sherman smiled at Kong Xinmu, then turned around and led him into the inn. Kong Xinmu brought the Fire Phoenix Princess with him and followed. After entering the inn, the Fire Phoenix Princess practically didn't say a word, especially when Xueqi looked at her. Her face turned red, and she lowered her head, not daring to look at anyone. At this moment, she hurriedly followed Kong Xinmu and walked towards the back of the inn. In the back of the inn, there were secluded courtyards that were connected one after another. In the vast Donghuang Dragon Martial City, it was really rare to have such a courtyard. This environment was very beneficial to dragon martial artists' cultivation. Moreover, Kong Xinmu felt that there seemed to be a spirit-gathering formation set up in the courtyard, allowing dragon martial artists to absorb the spirit energy of heaven and earth faster. Although the resources here couldn't compare to those in Donghuang Yonggu College, it was still the best in Donghuang Dragon Martial City. Our charming inn has a total of 160 courtyards. Each courtyard has a living room and 2 bedrooms, the red-clothed girl, Lin Sherman, said with a smile. In addition, there is an independent dining and bathing area. In the Donghuang Dragon Martial City, this is the inn with the best conditions. What's the price here? Kong Xinmu asked. If you want to rent for a long time, I can charge you a bit cheaper. 3,000 Donghuang Dragon Martial coins a month. Lin Sherman said with a smile. Chapter 42:11. 3,000 a month. The Donghuang Dragon Martial coin was an extremely valuable currency. This inn would cost 100 Donghuang Dragon Martial coins a day? Kong Xinmu's face instantly darkened. After all, he had stayed in Donghuang Yonggu College for a long time, so he was very clear about the value of the Donghuang Dragon Martial coin. In Donghuang Dragon Martial City, entering the city required 5 Donghuang Dragon Martial coins. In the city, buying a second-grade Dragon Martial skill only required 5 Donghuang Dragon Martial coins. 100 coins was equivalent to 20 second-grade Dragon Martial skills, or even an Origin Dragon Martial skill. Wasn't this too much? This price is indeed a bit expensive, but it was set by the lady boss, so no one can change it. When Lin Sherman saw Kong Xinmu's face darkened, she couldn't help but cover her mouth and chuckle. So our charming inn is almost exclusively rented by Donghuang Yonggu College students. Very few outsiders come here. Moreover, 3,000 a month is already after the discount. If an ordinary person wanted to rent our charming inn, it would cost 300 Donghuang Dragon Martial coins a night. When Kong Xinmu heard her words, he felt slightly better. Others paid 300 a night, while he paid 100 a night. It seemed to be quite a good deal. Young Master Jiang, why don't we forget it and find another inn? The Fire Phoenix Princess weakly tugged on Kong Xinmu's sleeves. She followed behind Kong Xinmu, and when she heard the price, her face turned pale with fright. Kong Xinmu nodded. He had the same intention. The price was too expensive, and he couldn't afford it at all. Thus, he carried the girl in black and turned to leave. You're really leaving just like that? Lin Sherman saw this and didn't stop him. She only chuckled and said, The girl you're carrying seems to be in a predicament. I've seen this kind of predicament before. In the entire Donghuang Dragon Martial City, other than our lady boss, I'm afraid no one can help her. But I don't have that many Donghuang Dragon Martial coins. Kong Shin-mu was a little tempted. More importantly, the black-clothed girl's origin dragon martial technique, dark dragon filth control, seemed to be of a higher rank than the void dragon sky-raising strike. An origin dragon martial technique of this level could not be bought within the boundaries of the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City, no matter how much money one had. The origin dragon martial techniques that could be bought were at most at the level of the void dragon raising the heavens break. That was why he really wanted it. After all, it was a dragon martial skill that could allow one to recover quickly. To Kong Shin-mu, it was extremely important. Although he didn't know to what extent the girl had been brainwashed by the Dark Dragon group, and whether she would be able to teach him the Dark Dragon filth control after she woke up, Kong Shin-mu still wanted to give it a try. I can't make the decision on the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial coins. But, maybe the lady boss will give you a free bill when she sees you? Lin Sherman chuckled. Is it free of charge? Kong Shin-mu was stunned. This inn is owned by the lady boss. Do you think we can waive the bill? Lin Sherman giggled coquettishly. But, hasn't the lady boss not appeared for a long time? Kong Shin-mu was a little hesitant. Who said so? At this moment, a seductive female voice came from behind Kong Shin-mu. This voice was incomparably seductive, like a ripe peach, filled with unparalleled allure. These 3 short words were enough to incite endless imagination. Even Kong Shin-mu was no exception. Moreover, this voice sounded incomparably dignified, making it impossible for anyone to have any thoughts of profanity. It was obvious that the person who came was quite powerful. Sherman greets the Lord Dragon Emperor. Lin Sherman took the lead and bowed behind Kong Shin-mu. And Kong Shin-mu finally reacted. He hurriedly turned his head and saw a beautiful woman wearing a thin pink dress leisurely walking along the quiet and secluded corridor. Her face looked completely like a 17 or 18-year-old girl. It was incomparably tender and her eyes were filled with wisdom and maturity. This was a beautiful woman with an indescribable temperament. Her dress was made of fine gauze and silk, making her look like a fairy that had descended to the mortal world. Perhaps it was as the rumors said, the charming and gentle Dragon Emperor was peerless in her generation. And at this moment, when Kong Shin-mu saw the young girl-like Dragon Emperor, he couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Xueqi was right. This lady boss was indeed peerless in her generation. In the field, Kong Shin-mu and the Fire Phoenix Princess were both stunned for a moment. The appearance of the charming and gentle Dragon Emperor really stunned them. This is our charming and gentle inn's lady boss. Lin Sherman introduced to Kong Shin-mu. Seeing his stunned appearance, she pursed her lips and retreated with a light smile. She quickly left. The lady boss had personally appeared. This meant that she didn't need to entertain Kong Shin-mu anymore. However, Lin Sherman was very curious. Just how did this student called Kong Shin-mu attract the lady boss's attention? Like Xueqi and the others from before, even if they came because of the fame, the lady boss didn't even bother to meet them. You're the lady boss of this inn? Kong Shin-mu asked with a dry mouth and tongue. That's right, it's me. The young girl pursed her lips and smiled. She waved at Kong Shin-mu. Follow me first. Let's talk inside. Kong Shin-mu reacted now. He was still a bit vigilant. He looked around but didn't find anything unusual. As for the young girl in front of him, he could feel that she was definitely not an ordinary person. If she wanted to harm him, there was no need to lure him to another place. She could crush him on the spot. Thus, he called the Fire Phoenix Princess and asked her to follow him. They followed the young girl and walked towards one of the courtyards. Within the courtyard, there was tea and wine. There was an intoxicating fragrance wafting through the air. This is the courtyard that I live in. The charming and gentle Dragon Emperor said softly. Then she pointed at a long stone table in the courtyard. Let her lie there. What's going on? Kong Shin-mu was a bit confused. She's been unconscious for a long time, right? The charming and gentle Dragon Emperor didn't directly answer. Instead, she asked a question. Her lips curled. If we don't save her now, I'm afraid it'll be too late. Do you want to see her die in front of you? But, I'm a bit embarrassed to trouble you like this. Kong Shin-mu was a bit puzzled. He had some Donghuang Dragon Martial coins on him. However, those coins weren't even enough to stay here for a day. How could he let the lady boss personally treat him? No problem. The charming and gentle Dragon Emperor waved her hand and didn't say anything else. Seeing that she had already said so, Kong Shinmu didn't hesitate anymore. He thought that he owed her a favor. Chapter 42:12. Kong Shinmu put down the black-clothed girl. Then, the young Dragon Emperor began to explain with a dignified look in her eyes while gathering spiritual energy in her hands. She has fallen into a dream. The reason is unknown, but in that dream, she can't wake up by herself. In the dream, there may be one, maybe two, or even more things that have been haunting her for a long time, making her unable to wake up. That dream is her memory. If you want her to wake up, you must enter her dream and defeat the things she encounters in her dream. Generally speaking, it is the terrible existence that she has encountered in the depths of her memory, which has become the shadow in her dream. So, do you roughly understand? The young Dragon Emperor explained. Almost understood. Kong Shinmu also nodded with a dignified look. In other words, this black-clothed girl killer was actually trapped in the memory dream. In that memory dream, there was a nightmare that she had been afraid of, haunting her. If she couldn't get rid of that nightmare, she wouldn't be able to wake up. Now, I will stabilize her dream first, and then, let's go in together. The young Dragon Emperor said. Let's go in together? Kong Shinmu was stunned. Obviously, he didn't expect that she would help solve this problem together. With you alone, and without experience in dealing with memory dream, it will probably be difficult to solve. Moreover, I can't handle it alone, so I need your help. The young Dragon Emperor emphasized. Well, then, after entering the dream, what will happen to us? Kong Shinmu was a little uncertain. We will be unconscious, just like her. The young Dragon Emperor said, but don't worry, our place is completely safe. Even if a Dragon Emperor comes, he can't hurt us at all. Okay. Kong Shinmu nodded and made a decision. Since the young Dragon Emperor accompanied him into the memory dream, he had nothing to worry about. By the way, if you perform well, maybe I can waive your rent. The young Dragon Emperor suddenly spoke and winked at him. Then before Kong Shinmu could react, he felt a misty aura wrapping around him. Then, his consciousness suddenly became a little fuzzy. In the beginning, he still had some resistance, but he soon lost the ability to resist and completely lost consciousness. When he woke up, he suddenly opened his eyes, but found that there was only darkness in front of him. There were only a few scattered lights in the distance, and the mist was drifting in the air, making it hard to see clearly. Hey, Kong Shinmu, is that you? At this time, Kong Shinmu heard a low and crisp voice coming from his side. It was somewhat familiar, but also somewhat confusing. That's right, it's charming Dragon Emperor. Kong Shinmu turned his head to take a look. In the darkness, he could only see a blurry figure. That figure was petite and exquisite. It was obviously the charming Dragon Emperor before she fainted. However, her body seemed to have lost the fragrance from before. Instead, there was a kind of cold smell. Don't be surprised. Charming Dragon Emperor's voice continued. Right now, we are in your friend's dream. We have already transformed into two people in her memory, but we don't know who they are. Also, why does this place feel so gloomy? That's right, this friend of yours, where did she grow up? She asked. Kong Shinmu thought for a while and replied, I don't know. Actually, she can't be considered my friend. She just committed suicide when she came to assassinate me. I saved her, and then she fainted. I wanted to obtain an origin dragon martial technique that she cultivated, so I wanted to save her. Also, I felt that she was a little pitiful. If she could start a new life, then she could become friends with the Fire Phoenix Princess. It's not bad. She's an assassin? Hearing Kong Shinmu's words, charming Dragon Emperor's originally crisp voice became a little shaky. It's over, why didn't you say so earlier? What's wrong? Kong Shinmu was confused. Assassins go through cruel training when they are young. Only then can they rise up in the organization. Charming Dragon Emperor lowered her voice and said, The place we are at now is very likely the assassin headquarters she is at. No wonder it's so gloomy, so it's the assassin training headquarters. If that's the case, can't we just find her and bring her out? Kong Shinmu asked doubtfully. How could it be that simple? Charming Dragon Emperor looked a little angry. Look at our current identities, this dress, this strength. We are obviously just two gatekeepers of the assassin organization. If we want to save her, Then we must get rid of the nightmare she is most afraid of. Two gatekeepers. The opponent we need to get rid of is very likely the boss of the assassins? How is that possible? Now, the two of them had actually become gatekeepers of the assassin organization's training headquarters. And the nightmare that the black-clothed girl is most afraid of is very likely the leader of the assassin organization. Even the leader of the assassins in reality is very powerful. In addition, this is a dream. The strength of the nightmare is very likely to be enhanced. All of these are caused by this female assassin's own dream and memory. Charming Dragon Emperor explained once again, and suddenly felt even more powerless. Regarding this, Kong Shinmu could also understand. In everyone's childhood, there will always be something that they are afraid of, and in their memory, these things are extremely terrifying. Some things that are actually not very powerful will be infinitely magnified in their memory. In other words, Kong Shinmu and Charming Dragon Emperor are very likely to face an unimaginable existence. Then what do we do now? Give up? Kong Shinmu was somewhat hesitant. It's too late to give up. We have already come in. Charming Dragon Emperor shook her head in the darkness and sighed. Either we save her and wake up together, or we accompany her to sleep here forever, never to go out. Or perhaps if we die in this dream, our consciousness will disappear forever. It's actually so dangerous? Then why didn't you say so earlier? Kong Shinmu was somewhat puzzled. He thought that this Charming Dragon Emperor was very reliable. Did not expect that after half a day, she herself was not confident. Who knew that her identity is actually an assassin? Charming Dragon Emperor was not willing to be the scapegoat, and lightly snorted at Kong Shinmu. Ordinary girls, aren't they afraid of the big bad wolf when they are young? I have encountered it once before, entered the dream, killed a big bad wolf and came out, but I did not expect this time. If it wasn't for the current situation, Kong Shinmu would probably laugh out loud after listening to her words. Big bad wolf? This Charming Dragon Emperor with a transcendent temperament actually has such a cute side, which made Kong Shinmu unable to expect. But now is not the time to consider this. Chapter 42:13. Kong Shinmu and the Charming Dragon Emperor were trapped in the dream of the girl in black. Kong Shinmu had never heard of such a situation before. However, the world was so vast that it was not difficult to understand why such a thing would happen. The most important thing now is to find out where she is, right? Kong Shinmu asked in a low voice. That's right. The Charming Dragon Emperor nodded in the darkness and thought for a moment, but she was still in despair. But we are just gatekeepers. How can we run around looking for people? I just don't know when someone will come to change shifts. Let's see what we can do first. The Charming Dragon Emperor said as she tried to check the realm power she had. Soon she was discouraged. I actually became a small sky dragon. And I am only at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Even if I know all the dragon martial techniques from before, it is impossible to defeat an existence that is too strong. Let me see. Kong Shinmu also checked his own situation. There was a token on his waist, on which there were 2 words, 3rd Guard, Qin Huanjia. This was his identity and name. 3rd Guard, according to A, B, C and D, he seemed to be the 2nd last level. Fortunately, it is not the lowest level identity. Kong Shinmu shook his head and continued to check his own situation. He found that his body was the same as the Charming Dragon Emperor beside him, also a Sky Dragon level inheritance blood essence, and was at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. This realm is stronger than me, but this inheritance blood essence is only a Sky Dragon. I am afraid it will not be so easy to kill the leader of the Dark Dragon group. Kong Shinmu's face also became a little ugly. Actually, we don't have to be too desperate. The Charming Dragon Emperor pretended to be relaxed and said, when the next shift comes, let's go find her and see what she is afraid of. Maybe it is not the leader of the Dark Dragon group? That's true. Kong Shinmu nodded. What followed was a long wait. After about 6 hours, 2 cold figures finally walked over from the small path ahead. They gave off an unimaginable killing intent, and it was unknown just how many creatures they had killed. Change shifts. These 2 simple words announced the purpose of their visit. The Charming Dragon Emperor and Kong Shinmu barely glanced at each other in the darkness. They both nodded their heads and didn't say anything. They kept quiet and planned to leave first so as not to expose any flaws. Wait. Suddenly, the 2 people who came to change shifts felt that something was wrong. They immediately said coldly, "Spring, summer, autumn, and winter." This sentence caused the charming Dragon Emperor and Kong Shinmu to stop in their tracks. Their faces were instantly covered in cold sweat. There was no doubt that they were going to match the secret code. But how would they know the secret code? Spring, summer, autumn, winter, spring, summer, autumn, winter. Kong Shinmu's face darkened. Who could match such a secret code? Who knew what the secret code was that the other party had secretly agreed on? There were too many possibilities. It was impossible to guess it correctly. Just as he was thinking hard, the charming Dragon Emperor secretly gave him a look. But the scene was too dark. Kong Shinmu didn't see her look at all. So the charming Dragon Emperor could only clench her teeth and pretended to say in a cold tone, "Monkey, chicken, dog, pig." The scene suddenly became quiet. Kong Shinmu was almost stunned. What was this charming Dragon Emperor saying? Spring, summer, autumn, and winter? Monkey, chicken, dog, pig? Wasn't this too exaggerated? Which killer organization would set up such a stupid secret code? But Kong Shinmu quickly reacted. Wrong. She deliberately said it to be outrageous. She was hinting to me that this must be a wrong answer. Since it is a wrong answer, then the other party will definitely make a move. In this case, strike first and gain the upper hand. Kong Shinmu came to such a conclusion. So, he didn't wait for the charming Dragon Emperor to say more. He took the lead and a wave of devouring power swept towards the two of them. The devouring power can be used. This was a surprise for Kong Shinmu. The next moment, the devouring power turned into a cloud of black fog. It instantly enveloped the two killer guards who came to change shifts. Originally, the charming Dragon Emperor planned to make a move. But before she could make a move, the two killer guards had already been devoured by the devouring power. Not a single residue was left. Even when the other party reacted, he didn't even have time to say a word. He had already been devoured by Kong Shinmu into nothingness. What's going on? The charming Dragon Emperor was a little confused. No matter what, the guards who changed shifts should be of the same level, right? How did Kong Shinmu kill the other party in seconds? Originally, she was prepared to kill the other party and run away. She wanted to preserve her life first. If she wanted to deal with the leader of the killer organization, she would have to survive in this memory dreamland. But Kong Shinmu actually killed the other party without making a sound. I don't know either. Maybe the guy that I'm replacing has always been hiding his strength? Kong Shinmu pretended to be puzzled. However, in reality, he knew that it must be because of the special nature of the devouring power. The devouring power came from the mysterious black dragon consciousness. It was different from all the other powers in this world. In this dream, the charming Dragon Emperor's cultivation power couldn't be brought in. It couldn't be of much use. However, Kong Shinmu seemed to feel that his devouring power was like a fish in water in this place. In this memory dreamland, everything was the memories of the girl in black. And the memories didn't really exist. So no matter how strong the existence in this memory dreamland was, it was only formed from her memories. This devouring power seems to be able to devour memories directly. In other words, in this memory dreamland, everything can be devoured by me. Kong Shinmu was a little excited. If that was the case, then the purpose of this trip could be completed perfectly. However, the key point was that Kong Shinmu didn't want his devouring power to be exposed in front of the charming Dragon Emperor. After all, he didn't know the exact identity of the other party. If he exposed his trump card, it wouldn't be good for him. So he pretended to be confused and expressed that he didn't know what was going on. That's strange. The charming Dragon Emperor felt that something was wrong. However, she didn't think too much about it. Anyway, this was someone else's memory dreamland. It wouldn't be too much for anything strange to happen. However, with your identity, it's not bad that you have such means. Let's go in first and look around. Now, I can confirm that you can kill the assassin guards of the third guard level without making a sound. However, if you encounter a higher level existence, you still have to deal with it. The charming Dragon Emperor said solemnly. Yes. Kong Shinmu nodded. In order not to expose his devouring power, he naturally had to do as the charming Dragon Emperor said. Chapter 42:14. The two of them slowly moved towards the depths of the Dark Dragon Group. Although there were no guards at the door, for Kong Shinmu and the charming Dragon Emperor, they couldn't care less. The most important thing was to find the girl in black. You reacted quite quickly just now, or else it would be bad. As the charming Dragon Emperor moved forward, she lowered her voice and said to Kong Shinmu, "Your monkey, chicken, dog and pig are too outrageous. You can almost react, right?" Kong Shinmu couldn't help but say, "Pfft." The charming Dragon Emperor couldn't help but laugh out loud and said, "It's all because this place is too dark, or else you would have seen it with a wink, right?" Kong Shinmu naturally agreed. He looked around. This place seemed to be always in darkness, unable to see the sun. Only this kind of place would be the headquarters of the assassin organization, which was easy to understand. They walked quietly towards the faint lights in the distance, and saw that there were many guards patrolling along the way. These guards who were patrolling inside seemed to be of a higher rank than the guards guarding the door. In order to avoid them, the charming Dragon Emperor took Kong Shinmu to take a remote path. These paths were full of thorns and potholes, and it was difficult to walk steadily inside. Wait! The charming Dragon Emperor who was walking in front suddenly noticed something, and suddenly stopped. She turned around and pulled Kong Shinmu, and squatted down. Immediately after, they saw a group of guards, carrying bright lanterns, walking quickly in front of them. Fortunately, they squatted down and hid in the thorns, or else they would have been discovered by the other party. After the group of people passed by, the charming Dragon Emperor heaved a sigh of relief. But at this time, she suddenly found that she and Kong Shinmu were too close. The two of them were almost touching each other in the thorns, and she could even feel Kong Shinmu's breath behind her, exhaling bursts of hot air. This hot air made her itch. Let's go, let's go." She stood up and continued to walk inside. Now that they were in the observation stage, they couldn't act rashly. They had to investigate the situation of the Dark Dragon Group clearly. When they arrived at the dimly lit area, they discovered that it was a place similar to a small village. Many of the assassin organization's guards lived in this small village. The ground in this place is very wet, and most of it is stone, not soil. It's very likely that the entire assassin organization is established in an underground cave. After walking for so long, the charming Dragon Emperor came to this conclusion. Yes. Kong Shinmu nodded in agreement. They quietly entered the small village and hid behind a small wooden house, hidden in the interlayer of the mountain wall. Under normal circumstances, no one would come here to investigate. In other words, their position was more or less safe. Through the walls and cracks of the cabin, they could roughly see what was going on inside. There are a few people inside. The charming Dragon Emperor and Kong Shinmu looked through the walls of the small wooden house together. Under the flickering light, they saw several figures sitting in the small wooden house and talking to each other. This month's account book is almost done. The success rate of the mission is 100%. Not bad, the leader has already praised us greatly. If this continues, our Dark Dragon Group will still have a very promising future. These figures were discussing some issues regarding the development of the Dark Dragon Group. It seemed that they were the leaders of the Dark Dragon Group. The charming Dragon Emperor and Kong Shinmu listened together and quickly understood the general situation of the Dark Dragon Group. This Dark Dragon Group was secretly cultivated by a royal family of the Sacred Abyss Dragon Country, Dragon Emperor. The Dragon Emperor rarely came to the Dark Dragon Group to inspect, but every 3 years, he would bring back a group of boys and girls from outside and hand them over to the people of the Dark Dragon Group to train. No one knew where these boys and girls came from. However, after training, the assassins in the Dark Dragon Group were the elites of the elites. The cultivation talent of these boys and girls was at least above average, and a few even had some special talents. After training, these assassins became the money-making tools of the royal family of the Dragon Emperor. The place where the boys and girls were trained was deeper in the headquarters of the Dark Dragon Group, in a lava cave. We've almost figured it out, but the place where we're going to train the assassins seems to be more difficult. The charming Dragon Emperor frowned slightly. It was a lava cave, and it was very likely that there were flames everywhere. It couldn't be as dark as the periphery, so if they wanted to move, they had to find a good identity. Otherwise, something would definitely go wrong. If something went wrong, with their current status and strength, it was very likely that they would die here. Just as she was thinking about this, a figure suddenly stood up in the small wooden house. I'm going to relieve myself. You guys continue. The figure walked out of the small wooden house, and the sound of footsteps came from the front, and soon came to the side. "He's coming here to relieve himself." The charming Dragon Emperor's face instantly turned red. "It's okay, he can't pee," Kong Shinmu whispered to her. "But the people here seem to be Guard B, and their ranks are very high. They seem to be at the level of the Dragon King." The charming Dragon Emperor was a little anxious. "Don't be afraid." At this time, it was Kong Shinmu who was calmer. After all, he had the devouring power to rely on. He believed that the devouring power would not let him down. Anyway, it was impossible to escape from this corner now. If the other party wanted to relieve himself, he would definitely find him. Regardless of whether he succeeded or not, he had to try using the devouring power once. Not long after, the figure strolled to the back of the small wooden house, in the gap between the mountain wall and the small wooden house. As soon as he arrived, he felt a little strange. There seemed to be two figures in the darkness in front of him, but before he could ask, the devouring power had already completely swallowed him, and before he could even say a word, his entire person had completely disappeared from this world. Of course, this was only the black-robed girl's memory dreamland, and what Kong Shinmu had devoured was only the power of the dreamland memory. All of this happened without a sound or a trace. Even the other people in the small wooden house did not notice that the person had disappeared. "We can't hide for long, let's go." Seeing that Kong Shinmu had succeeded, the charming Dragon Emperor could not help but let out a sigh of relief, but she knew that this person had only come out to relieve himself. If he did not return for a long time, someone would definitely notice that something was wrong. This is a dead end. They walked deeper and found that the mountain wall was blocking their way. If they wanted to pass through, they would have to transform into a dragon, but if they transformed into a dragon, it would be impossible for them to continue hiding. Chapter 42:15. On that street, there were too many guards coming and going. Our identities are the guards at the gate. According to the situation, it should not be a problem to switch shifts now, right? Kong Shinmu asked the charming Dragon Emperor. "I don't know." The charming Dragon Emperor did not know what to do. Although she was very strong, she was not clear about the rules and regulations of this kind of assassin organization. At this moment, she was even somewhat dependent on Kong Shinmu. After all, Kong Shinmu's devouring power seemed to be extremely terrifying. Even a dragon martial artist who was 2 grades higher than him could instantly devour it. Although the other party did not transform into a dragon, his blood essence was really powerful. It could devour blood essence until not a drop was left. She always felt that there was something strange about Kong Shinmu's methods. "Let's go from the middle and enter openly." Kong Shinmu observed the situation. "There's no time to lose. Let's go now." "All right." The charming Dragon Emperor suddenly became nervous. If her real body was in the headquarters of the Dark Dragon Group, she would not be nervous. But this was the black-clothed girl's memory dream. Therefore, she couldn't predict what kind of accident would happen. She could only follow Kong Shinmu's actions now. When Kong Shinmu brought her out of this corner and into the middle of the street, her heart was so nervous that it was about to jump out. But she quickly discovered that when she and Kong Shinmu walked out together, no one actually noticed them. Their clothes were originally the uniform of Third Guard. Although it was the headquarters of the assassin organization, this small village was not a very strict place. It was impossible to check every person who passed by. Therefore, in this situation, Kong Shinmu brought the charming Dragon Emperor and walked all the way into the depths of the small village. Just now, behind the small wooden house, they had heard clearly how to go to the lava cave where the assassins were trained. But if they went there directly with their identity, there would definitely be problems. They walked on the street, their footsteps getting slower and slower. Because they did not know where to go now, even Kong Shinmu didn't dare to walk around carelessly, for fear that others would notice something. What now? The charming Dragon Emperor sees that Kong Shinmu's footsteps are getting slower and slower, and is a little nervous. Wait for the chaos. Kong Shinmu lowered his voice and said, "They'll soon realize that someone has disappeared. This place will definitely become chaotic. Once this place is in chaos, we'll have a chance." Just as Kong Shinmu finished speaking, a chaotic sound came from the village entrance behind them. "Someone's missing. Everyone, spread out and look for him." As a dignified voice rang out, everyone in the small village immediately moved. They had never thought that an outsider would come to their base camp. After all, this was something that had never happened before. In other words, such a thing had never happened in the black-clothed girl's memory. When the village finally became chaotic, Kong Shin-mu pulled the charming Dragon Emperor's little hand and quickly ran towards a direction. "Where are we going?" the charming Dragon Emperor asked with a blushing face. "To the lava cave where the assassins are trained. Didn't we just hear about it from those people?" Kong Shin-mu was a little helpless. "Oh, I don't know the way." The charming Dragon Emperor lowered her voice and said with some embarrassment. This was a problem that many girls have. No matter how strong her cultivation was, even if she was already a Dragon Emperor-level powerhouse outside, she still had a natural defect in terms of knowing the way. Of course, now that Kong Shin-mu is carrying her, it doesn't matter even if she has no sense of direction. When the village was in chaos, there were people running everywhere, so no one paid attention to them. Therefore, they quickly arrived in front of a mountain wall. In front of the mountain wall, there was a suspension bridge, and below the suspension bridge was a deep abyss. There are guards over there, and they seem to be second guard of the Dragon King level. How about we make them disappear? The charming Dragon Emperor said with some eagerness. She was now very confident in Kong Shin-mu. Just now, he made a Dragon King disappear in an instant. That method was too shocking. After knowing that Kong Shin-mu could deal with the Dragon King, she was no longer so nervous. Yes. Kong Shin-mu nodded. No matter how chaotic it was outside, the entrance of the lava cave would not be chaotic. Therefore, he only needed to wait for an opportunity to get close to the two guards and make them disappear with his devouring power. The two of them ran over and quickly crossed the suspension bridge. At the entrance of the lava cave, they were stopped by the two guards. But before they could speak, Kong Shin-mu directly made his move, and the devouring power was activated. A gust of black smoke completely enveloped the two of them. Almost in an instant, they disappeared completely. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were turned into ashes. "Come, let's go in." Kong Shin-mu pulled the charming Dragon Emperor and walked into the lava cave as fast as he could. Soon, they disappeared at the entrance of the cave. And not long after, when many guards from the village came to the vicinity and saw that the guards guarding the lava cave had also disappeared, they could not help but be shocked and immediately reported this matter. Finally, the disappearance of the members of the Dark Dragon group attracted the attention of the real higher-ups. Assassin guards of the Dragon King level were already very important personnel. One should know that in the entire Dark Dragon group, other than the big leader, second leader, and third leader, there was no one else of the Dragon Emperor level. Now that 3 of the Dragon King's guards and 4 guards at the gate had disappeared, it was obvious that the enemy had infiltrated the city. Moreover, the enemy had already entered the lava cave where assassins were trained. The Dark Dragon group's reaction speed was very fast. Just as Kong Shin-mu and the charming Dragon Emperor stepped into the lava cave for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the group was led by a burly man to the entrance of the lava cave. "Go in and search for me." The burly man was the third leader of the Dark Dragon group. His expression was fierce and his eyes were merciless and cold. His whole body was filled with a murderous aura. God knew how many people he had killed. He brought people here and personally walked towards the lava cave. Kong Shin-mu and the charming Dragon Emperor had already reached the depths of the lava cave. Found it! Inside the lava cave, many of the young assassins who had been trained were resting. The guards they met along the way, even those with the inherited blood of the Dragon King level, were completely swallowed by Kong Shin-mu before they could transform into dragons. As there were torches on the mountain walls of the lava cave, this time the charming Dragon Emperor saw clearly what Kong Shin-mu did. She became more and more curious about his methods, but she did not ask. And Kong Shin-mu had already thought it through. Chapter 42:16. The charming Dragon Emperor would never think that he had such an ability in reality. So, it was better to just do it. There was no need to be sneaky. As long as he completely devoured this place, the girl in black should be able to wake up, right? Along the way, Kong Shin-mu devoured at least 10 guards. Among these guards, most of them were Holy Dragon-level inheritance blood essence. Only 2 of them were Dragon King. When they reached the depths of the lava cave, Kong Shin-mu saw that there were indeed many iron cages in the deepest part of the cave. There were many trained killers. Oh no, this seems to be when she was young. How can we recognize her when she was young? Kong Shin-mu's expression suddenly changed. Hearing Kong Shinmu's words, the charming Dragon Emperor's pretty face also changed color. Indeed, this was the memory of the girl in black when she was young. She and Kong Shinmu had never seen her when she was young. How could they recognize which one was her? If they didn't know who she was, how could they know what she was afraid of? There should be people coming from outside soon. The charming Dragon Emperor said nervously. There's only one way. Kong Shinmu looked at the little killers imprisoned in the iron cages around him. These little killers had all awakened a rather tyrannical divine dragon inheritance blood essence, so they were valued and nurtured. No matter which one of them was the girl in black. Kong Shinmu thought that as long as he could eliminate the entire Dark Dragon group, her memory dream should be broken, right? No matter what she was afraid of, what she was afraid of was in this memory dream. And Kong Shinmu's devouring power could devour the entire memory dream. What is it? The charming Dragon Emperor asked nervously. Kong Shinmu didn't know how to explain to her. He could only wave his hand and didn't say much. He just said, "Hide behind me first." He turned around and faced the direction he came from. His eyes revealed a touch of determination. Even if the charming Dragon Emperor doubted his abilities, it was still better than dying in this memory dream. Therefore, Kong Shinmu had to give it his all. Devour. In the next moment, surging pitch-black devouring power surged out from his body and spread out like smoke. Soon, it tainted every existence in the lava cave. Senior ENI, the owner of this dream should be slightly different from other passers-by, right? Take this opportunity to distinguish her from the others. Otherwise, I'm afraid we won't be able to leave this place alive. Kong Shinmu gritted his teeth and said. After he made his move, he suddenly thought of a problem. If he wanted to devour this dream of memories, he would have to leave behind the black-clothed girl's consciousness, right? If the black-clothed girl's consciousness was swallowed, wouldn't that mean that she would never wake up? So, he still needed the help of the charming Dragon Emperor to identify her true form. All right. The charming Dragon Emperor also calmed down at this moment. She felt that with Kong Shinmu behind her, she felt very safe. If Kong Shinmu did not stop the dragon warriors who were chasing after them, the charming Dragon Emperor would not have enough time to find the black-clothed girl. But now, she had enough time to identify and confirm. The two of them divided their work. Kong Shinmu's devouring power began to devour everything around the lava cave. Darkness almost enveloped the entire lava cave. At this moment, the third brother of the Dark Dragon group had also led the others into the lava cave. However, they encountered a pitch-black devouring power. They were extremely nervous and quickly transformed into dragons. They used the bodies of the Dragon King and even the Dragon Emperor to resist the devouring power. Unfortunately, these members of the Dark Dragon group were only formed from the energy of the memory dream. They were not the real Dragon King or Dragon Emperor. When they encountered the devouring power, they had no ability to resist at all. They were completely devoured by the devouring power and disappeared from the dream without a trace. And the black fog was still spreading outwards, spreading further and further away. Kong Shinmu intended to devour everything in the memory dream. His devouring power had such an ability. Soon, as the devouring power spread, the members of the Dark Dragon group outside the lava cave were all turned into ashes. They were directly devoured and disappeared without a trace. Then, the devouring power spread to the small village from before, completely enveloping it. Many members of the Dark Dragon group who were busy working were also enveloped by the devouring power. Without any ability to resist, they were devoured and disappeared. They turned into pure memory energy and were absorbed by Kong Shinmu. The scope of this memory dream doesn't seem to be large. Kong Shinmu thought to himself. The girl in black seemed to have been trained in this place since she was young. She had never left this place many times since she grew up. The place that she feared the most in her memory dream was the headquarters of the Dark Dragon group, the place where she was trained. Therefore, in this memory dream, only this scene appeared. With Kong Shinmu blocking the dragon warriors who rushed in from the outside, the charming Dragon Emperor was also nervously looking for the body of the girl in black. Although these little assassins locked up in the iron cages didn't look any different, charming Dragon Empress had the experience of entering a memory dream once, so she was still able to notice the subtle differences between the black-clothed young lady and the others. Soon, she found one of the assassins locked in the iron cage. His eyes were as bright as stars, but there was fear in the depths of his eyes. That young assassin was wearing tight-fitting clothes and looked to be 13 or 14 years old. However, his figure was already quite developed. At this moment, when he saw Jiang Shenwu and Dragon Empress Yi Tang barging in, he felt a little nervous. "You will die." The young assassin's clear and gloomy voice came out. "The leader of the Dark Dragon Group is not someone you can deal with." It's her. The charming Dragon Emperor was almost certain. She couldn't say why she was so sure, but she felt that the young assassin in front of her was the girl in black when she was young. There was an extremely subtle difference between her and the others, but this difference, after careful observation, the charming Dragon Emperor was finally able to distinguish it. This process took a lot of time. If it wasn't for Kong Shinmu stalling for time, she would have been killed by the members of the Dark Dragon Group who had barged in from the outside and died here. Of course, at this moment, Kong Shinmu was no longer stalling for time. He had already devoured more than half of the entire memory dream. The night forest outside the lava cave, the small village, and all the people of the Dark Dragon Group had all turned into the purest memory energy and were absorbed by Kong Shinmu. Just as the young assassin's voice was filled with sadness and fear, a figure shrouded in black qi appeared behind Kong Shinmu without any warning. The figure was like a ghost, its entire body emitting a dense aura, as if it had come from hell to claim his life. Chapter 42:17. The great leader of the Dark Dragon Group had appeared. Logically speaking, this person would not appear at the training ground. After all, he was one of the royal dragon emperor of the sacred Abyss Dragon Country. His status was high, and the Dark Dragon Group was just one of the forces under him. However, this was the girl in black's memory dream. In this memory dream, the more she was afraid of something, the more likely it would appear. For example, the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group in front of her. When he appeared behind Kong Shinmu in the blink of an eye. In the girl in black's memory, the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group was an extremely terrifying existence. He was almost omnipotent. Whoever he wanted to die had to die, and he could torture whoever he wanted. If she had not deliberately concealed her appearance, she would have been humiliated by the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group long ago. Many of the female assassins who trained with her had no chance of escaping as long as the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group took a fancy to them. As for her, she had always covered her face with dust. When she grew a little older, she even carved 2 bloody marks on her face. That was how she escaped the claws of the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group. Of course, in this memory dream, she was still young and had not reached that stage yet. The bloody marks on her face were already something that happened later. The great leader has appeared. We will all die. Seeing the black shadow appear, the young girl in black trembled in fear. She hugged her body tightly, and her eyes were filled with endless fear. In her eyes, a scene appeared. It was the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group appearing and charging towards Kong Shinmu. It was as if there were countless scythes of the Grim Reaper slashing towards Kong Shinmu. Be careful! The charming Dragon Emperor shouted at the fastest speed and attacked at the same time. Unfortunately, with her current strength, she was no match for the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group. Just as she was about to transform into a dragon and attack, she saw a burst of black smoke land on her chest and send her flying. In reality, most of the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group did not have such a fast reaction speed. However, in this memory dream, the black shadow was no longer the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group, but the most terrifying existence in the girl's heart. Therefore, his strength was naturally terrifying. Just as the charming Dragon Emperor wanted to help Kong Shinmu, she was sent flying by a cloud of black smoke. Her entire body flew out and flew towards the surrounding lava pit. She was unable to control her own body at all. If she were to fall into the lava pit, she would most likely die. If she died here, it would mean that her consciousness would die here. Even if Kong Shinmu broke this dream, she would not be able to return to the outside world. Devour! At this critical moment, Kong Shinmu attacked again. The pitch-black devouring power swept out and bombarded the lava. Under the effect of the devouring power, Kong Shinmu actually devoured all the burning lava around him. This was the power of the dream realm, and the devouring power was able to devour it effortlessly. Immediately after, the devouring power transformed into a pair of large hands that caught the charming Dragon Emperor and placed her back beside the little assassin's iron cage. Devour for me! Kong Shinmu did not hesitate. Since he had the devouring power, he had no reason to let his opponent go. The endless black fog of devouring swept out in all directions. The great leader of the Dark Dragon Group, who was invincible in the girl's heart, was devoured in an instant, followed by the entire lava cave. The iron cages of the little assassins were enveloped by the devouring power and disappeared, including the irrelevant little assassins. They were all devoured by the devouring power and disappeared. In the end, almost all the scenes in the dream realm were devoured. Only the black-clothed little assassin, the charming Dragon Emperor, and Kong Shin-mu were left in the darkness. Even the iron cage around the little assassin had been completely devoured. It was dark all around. As the image of the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group was devoured, the black-clothed little assassin's heart seemed to tremble for a moment. Then, she fainted in the arms of the charming Dragon Emperor. What ability is this? The charming Dragon Emperor felt that her spirit was a little weak. Previously, she had been hit by the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group, causing her consciousness to be a little fuzzy. But she also knew that this time, Kong Shin-mu had saved her. She looked at the dark scene around her and found it a little hard to understand. What was going on? Don't say any more. Kong Shin-mu came to her side, his face a little solemn. There was nothing around them, and the dream realm of memory was close to shattering. Logically speaking, he had already dealt with the great leader of the Dark Dragon Group. They should have returned to the outside world, right? But now there was no change. Is there something else that she is afraid of? Otherwise, why haven't we gone out yet? Kong Shin-mu frowned and asked. Probably not. The charming Dragon Emperor shook her head. She looked at the little killer girl in her arms. There seems to be a dusty memory in her mind. She doesn't even know about this memory. Now that we have just dealt with the thing that she fears the most, if we want to leave the dream realm, I'm afraid we have to unlock that dusty memory of hers. Dusty memory? As Kong Shin-mu was thinking about this, the surrounding scene suddenly changed. The little killer girl in the arms of the charming Dragon Emperor suddenly disappeared, and they suddenly came to a scene of ice and snow. In this scene, they could not feel any temperature, nor could they feel any touch. Even in this world of ice and snow, they were like bystanders. Kong Shin-mu did not act rashly. Then, he saw that in this world of ice and snow, a young couple appeared. They seemed to be holding a little baby in their arms. The little baby was well protected, and even in this world of ice and snow, it did not feel cold. Let's stop here. With this jade pendant, Ran can live. The young man of the young couple sighed. The young woman looked a little like the killer girl in black. At this moment, she was a little reluctant, but her eyes were filled with determination. No matter what, as long as she can live, I have no regrets. Ah Ching, let's go back and fight to the death with them. Even if we die, we will drag a few of them down with us. The young man nodded. He and the young woman placed the little baby in their arms in this world of ice and snow. However, the snowflakes around the little baby could not fall on her body at all. In her arms was a jade pendant. The jade pendant emitted a soft and warm light, protecting the little baby. This is the little killer? Chapter 42:18. In the world of ice and snow, the young couple quickly left. And the infant they left behind was quickly buried in the snow. Countless snowflakes covered the infant, but under the protection of the jade pendant, the infant produced a faint black halo that isolated all the ice and snow outside. It was even to the extent that the jade pendant was producing strands of energy that the infant was absorbing to maintain her life. Just like that, she spent an unknown amount of time under the ice and snow. She had been in a coma all this time, and the jade pendant had allowed her to constantly absorb energy to survive. It had even allowed her to automatically cultivate from the first tier of the true martial realm to the 9th tier. When she broke through to the ascending dragon realm, she had even triggered a heavenly phenomenon, and a dark attribute divine dragon's blood essence had entered her body. This allowed her to truly become a dragon warrior. And at this time, she had already spent 7 years under the ice and snow. She was already 7 years old. She had unconsciously become a dragon warrior, and because of the jade pendant, she had also cultivated the innate dragon martial technique, which was the dark dragon defying filth art. Suddenly, the ice and snow she was in was blown away by a violent force. Open! At this moment, she finally woke up and opened her eyes that were as bright as the stars. Why is there no one? Kong Shin-mu was a little puzzled. He looked down at the world of ice and snow below. The ice and snow around the little girl had been blown away by a violent force. Logically speaking, someone should have come to take her away. But he didn't see a single person. In the world of ice and snow, the little girl walked out and looked around blankly, not understanding what had happened. I know. At this time, the charming Dragon Emperor shook his head. This should be when she was taken away to join the Dark Dragon Regiment for training. But you have just devoured all her memories and dreams about the Dark Dragon Regiment. So she has lost all her memories about the Dark Dragon Regiment. But now, the dust-covered memory has been awakened. I see. Kong Shin-mu found it a little unbelievable. He had devoured all the scenes of the Dark Dragon Regiment's training ground, making all the girls' memories about the Dark Dragon Regiment disappear. At this time he felt the space in front of him distort, and then his body felt out of control. The next moment, he suddenly opened his eyes. I'm back. He raised his head and looked around. Sure enough, he had returned to the courtyard of the charming and gentle inn. This courtyard belonged to the charming Dragon Emperor himself. That familiar fragrance once again blew over, giving Kong Shin-mu a sense of authenticity. He had left the black-clothed girl's dream. Ah! A soft voice came from the side. Who else could it be but the charming Dragon Emperor? She yawned and raised her head from the long stone table, as if she had become very weak. Young Master Senior, you're awake. The Fire Phoenix Princess seemed to have been guarding at the side. Seeing this, she hurriedly ran over. Yes. Kong Shin-mu nodded and glanced at the charming Dragon Emperor. Senior, are you all right? He knew that the charming Dragon Emperor had been attacked by the shadow of the big leader of the Dark Dragon group in the memory dream, and his consciousness had become a little weak. I'm fine, I'm fine. The charming Dragon Emperor saw that she had returned and finally heaved a sigh of relief. I'll be fine after a few days of rest. After saying this, she stood up and moved her body a little. How long have we been in there? 3 days and 3 nights. The Fire Phoenix Princess replied. Yes. Logically, she should have woken up by now. The charming Dragon Emperor nodded and looked at the black-clothed girl lying on the long stone table. Just as everyone looked over, the black-clothed girl suddenly sat up. Her beautiful eyes were filled with confusion. She looked around and saw Kong Shin-mu and the charming Dragon Emperor. She felt that they were a little familiar, as if she had seen them somewhere before. Where am I? Who am I? Where are my parents? She seemed to still be immersed in the memory of that world of ice and snow. Explain it to her. I'm going to rest first. The charming Dragon Emperor looked at her and couldn't help but shake her head. She turned around and walked into the house. Her beauty could cause the downfall of a country. Every step she took was soul-stirring. Coupled with her weak and delicate appearance, it made people feel even more pity for her. Outside, when Kong Shin-mu saw the charming Dragon Emperor again, he felt a formless pressure. After all, in the outside world, this was a senior at the level of the Dragon Emperor. For her to be the lady boss of such a big inn in a place like the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City, one could imagine that her strength was definitely not ordinary. After she left, Kong Shin-mu turned around and glanced at the black-clothed girl killer. He stared at her, not knowing what to say for a moment. The sun set. Within the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City, the sky gradually darkened. Lights were also lit up in the charming and gentle inn, illuminating every courtyard. In the courtyard of the charming Dragon Emperor, Kong Shin-mu, the Fire Phoenix Princess, and the black-clothed girl killer had yet to leave. In the afternoon, Kong Shin-mu finally explained everything. You're saying that I was captured when I came out of the snow and brought to the Dark Dragon Group to be trained as an assassin? The black-clothed girl looked dumbfounded. If she hadn't lost all her memories of the Dark Dragon Group, she would probably still be loyal to the Dark Dragon Group when she woke up. After all, the Dark Dragon Group's training methods were too cruel. Even though she had been brought to the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial City, she didn't dare to disobey the orders of the Dark Dragon Group. But now, she didn't have all her memories, so she wasn't that afraid of the Dark Dragon Group. Instead, after hearing Kong Shin-mu's words, she hated the Dark Dragon Group a little. Right now, the black-clothed girl only had memories of that world of ice and snow. Although she still had some experience and common sense, her memories were no different from a little girl's. The influence of the dream of devouring memories on people is too great. At this moment, Kong Shin-mu was a little emotional. He had to admit that the devouring power was too heaven-defying. But if it wasn't for the existence of the devouring power, he wouldn't have been able to defeat the shadow of the Dark Dragon Group's great leader. Brother Jiang, do you know who my parents are? I want to find them. The black-clothed girl's habits caused her beautiful face to be a little cold. But now when she looked at Kong Shin-mu, there was a bit of dependence in her eyes. This wasn't because the black-clothed girl didn't have any vigilance towards Kong Shin-mu, but because Kong Shin-mu appeared in her dream of memory, and in that dream, he even defeated the Dark Dragon Group's great leader, who she was most afraid of. So she naturally had a kind of dependence and trust towards Kong Shin-mu. I don't know. Chapter 42:19. Dark Dragon Filth Control? If Big Brother Jiang wants to learn, I can teach you. The black-clothed girl said with a frown. Really? Kong Shin-mu was a little surprised. He originally thought that the Origin Dragon martial skill that the Jade Pendant taught her didn't have a chant, so it couldn't be taught to others. And that Jade Pendant had completely fused into her body after she became a dragon warrior, and no traces could be found. This was also why the Dark Dragon Group didn't discover this. It should be possible. The black-clothed girl nodded and said. But very quickly, she seemed to have realized something. She raised her hand and touched her smooth and tender face. Why do I remember that there was a bloody mark on my face? It seems to have disappeared? Even though she didn't have the memories of the Dark Dragon Group, she still had some vague memories of herself. It should be that when I healed you, I healed the bloody mark as well. Kong Shin-mu didn't take it to heart. The Fire Phoenix Princess pursed her lips and chuckled. Young Master Jiang is indeed very powerful. Previously, my entire body was burned, but he easily healed it. So that's how it is. The black-clothed girl nodded. It could be seen that she wasn't in a good mood. Anyone who lost a part of their memory, even if it was a very bad memory, wouldn't be in a good mood. Moreover, she was currently immersed in that world of ice and snow, and really wanted to know who her parents were. That's right. Do you know your name? Kong Shin-mu suddenly asked her. I don't know. The black-clothed girl shook her head with some regret. I only know that my parents call me Ran Ran. You guys can also call me Ran Ran. Her body was very weak right now, and she didn't have much fighting ability. After all, she had just tried to commit suicide and suffered serious injuries. Even if Kong Shin-mu healed her injuries, she still needed a certain amount of time to recover her fighting strength. Moreover, she had been immersed in the memory dream for an entire month, and the energy in her body was almost depleted. When it was almost night, Lin Sherman from the charming tavern finally came again, and she brought a lot of food. Hey, you're awake? Lin Sherman, who was dressed in a red robe, was a little surprised. Then I'll ask the kitchen to bring more food. By the way, where's my lady boss? She went in to rest. Kong Shin-mu said politely. After all, this was someone else's territory. Even now, he still didn't know if he should let the Fire Phoenix Princess and Ran Ran stay here. He still had to listen to the Dragon Emperor. Although in the dream, Kong Shin-mu and Eni Dragon Emperor had some intimate contact, Kong Shin-mu did not think that Eni Dragon Emperor would give him preferential treatment because of this. I'll go take a look. Lin Sherman walked towards the room. Just as she reached the door, she couldn't help but scold. Eni, you're really... There's still someone in this courtyard. Why are you naked on the bed? You didn't even cover yourself with a blanket. Hearing these words, Kong Shin-mu couldn't help but think of Eni Dragon Emperor's soft and supple body. He couldn't help but blush a little. In the dream realm, he was very close to the charming Dragon Empress before. However, he quickly shook his head and put this matter behind him. Eni Dragon Emperor was an expert on the level of Dragon Emperor. Moreover, she seemed to have a very high seniority. How could he think of such things? Immediately after, the tavern's kitchen made more dishes and brought them over for everyone to eat. Recently, the Fire Phoenix Princess had eaten plain rice here for 3 days. She felt a little embarrassed. When she ate, she quietly asked Kong Shin-mu, Young Master Jiang, when are we leaving? Or are we really going to stay here? But it's so expensive. When she came closer, a young girl's fragrance seeped into his nose, causing Kong Shin-mu to feel refreshed. He thought for a moment and said, Let's wait for Senior Eni to rest and have a chat with her. Kong Shinmu felt that the environment of the ENI Inn was indeed not bad. Moreover, there was a spirit gathering array here. Dragon warriors' cultivation efficiency would be much higher here. The Fire Phoenix Princess originally did not have any cultivation foundation. If she were to live in another place, it would be even slower for her to raise her cultivation. That night, Lin Sherman arranged a courtyard for the three of them to stay in temporarily. As for the future, it would be better to wait for ENI Dragon Emperor to wake up before personally arranging it. The key point was that ENI Dragon Emperor looked fine this time, but in reality, her consciousness was heavily injured and she still needed to rest for a long time. Originally, Kong Shinmu wanted to stay in another place first. After all, he couldn't afford to pay for a room. However, Lin Sherman was still rather polite to them. Perhaps it was because ENI Dragon Emperor actually went in to rest in front of them without wearing anything. This also showed that ENI Dragon Emperor trusted them. Therefore, Lin Sherman couldn't chase them away on her own. Stay here for now. Before the lady boss wakes up, you guys can stay here for free. With Lin Shimon's words, Kong Shinmu was relieved. In the next few days, he constantly communicated with Ran Ran and also guided the Fire Phoenix Princess in her cultivation. Although Ran Ran had lost her memories of the Dark Dragon group, she was still quite familiar with cultivation. That Dark Dragon Filth controlling art was the innate dragon martial skill that she inherited from the Jade Pendant. The Dark Dragon Filth controlling art was definitely an existence that surpassed ordinary Source Dragon martial skills. From this, it could be seen that Ran Ran's parents were definitely not ordinary people. When I return to Donghuang Yonggu College, I can help you look for information and see if there are any clues about your parents. Kong Shinmu said. Thank you, big brother Jiang. Ran Ran smiled and hugged him. It had to be said that this young girl's body was extremely well developed. In addition, she was always wearing tight black clothes, which showed off her exquisite figure even more vividly. She was incomparably attractive. And in these few days, the relationship between Ran Ran and Kong Shinmu actually became very good. The key point was that when she imparted the Dark Dragon Filth controlling art to him, she didn't rely on the incantation. Instead, they had to be skin to skin. She was the one who injected spirit energy into Kong Shinmu's body and helped him connect those meridians. As a result, it was only natural that she and Kong Shinmu became intimate. Furthermore, because Kong Shinmu defeated the Dark Dragon Group's leader in her memory dream, she had a faint sense of worship and adoration for Kong Shinmu. It was precisely this mentality that allowed her to become so familiar with Kong Shinmu so quickly. Otherwise, with her personality that had undergone assassin training, there was no way that she would be so close to a member of the opposite sex that she had just met. The imparting of the Dark Dragon Filth controlling art seems to be a little slow. Kong Shinmu thought in his heart. 5 days had already passed, and the charming Dragon Emperor still hadn't woken up. Ran Ran had only imparted him less than a third of the Dark Dragon Filth controlling art, and from what she said, the imparting speed seemed to be getting slower as time went by. Chapter 42:20. During this period, Princess Fire Phoenix cultivated in the courtyard and her progress was very fast. This was all because of the spirit gathering array, which allowed her to absorb spirit chi several times faster than in the outside world. If a dragon warrior wanted to improve their realm, they had to rely on the spirit chi of heaven and earth. Originally, Princess Fire Phoenix had only reached the 5th layer of the Dragon Ascension realm after such a long time. But now, in the Charming Inn, in less than 10 days, she had already reached the 6th layer of the Dragon Ascension realm. Moreover, as she became more familiar with cultivation, her cultivation speed would become faster and faster. Her talent was originally extraordinary, but when she was in Xueqi Dragon Country, she did not have the opportunity to cultivate, so she was only at the Dragon Ascension realm now. As for Ran Ran, she was already in existence at the 7th layer of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. At this level, it was extremely difficult to cultivate to the next layer, so it was impossible to improve in a short period of time. On the 7th day of Ran Ran's awakening, during the day, she was sitting opposite Kong Shinmu in the room. Their palms were pressed together, and she was teaching Kong Shinmu the Dark Dragon Filth controlling technique. This origin dragon martial skill could increase the recovery speed of Kong Shinmu's body by dozens of times in a short period of time. Combined with the body refining dragon martial skill, it would have a very good effect. Sometimes, when Kong Shinmu could not rely on the devouring power to devour the life essence to heal, he could use the dark dragon filth controlling technique, which was equivalent to giving him a second life. At this moment, a delicate voice suddenly came from outside the room. "Hey, why are you two so intimate?" Hearing this voice, Kong Shinmu opened his eyes. Looking at the door, who else could it be but the charming Dragon Emperor? At this moment, the charming Dragon Emperor was wearing a pink satin dress. It was not luxurious, but it looked very noble, with a temperament that no one dared to blaspheme. When she looked at Kong Shinmu, there was a gentle smile in her eyes. "Ran Ran is teaching me the dragon martial skill." Kong Shinmu stood up and said with a polite smile. "So her name is Ran Ran. Is she okay now? Do you still have nightmares?" Dragon Emperor Eni was more concerned about her. "I won't." Ran Ran also had a familiar feeling towards her, but she was not as friendly as Kong Shinmu. Moreover, in reality, the charming Dragon Emperor had a noble temperament, giving people a feeling that he was thousands of miles away, so Ran Ran did not dare to talk to her. "That's good." The charming Dragon Emperor smiled and nodded. "All right, after I finished resting, my strength has increased a little. I have to thank you for giving me such an opportunity. In order to thank you, you can stay in this charming inn from now on. Don't worry, whether it's food or accommodation, it's all free." His strength had increased? Kong Shinmu looked at the charming Dragon Emperor from head to toe. Only then did he vaguely realize that she seemed to be slightly stronger than before. "Are you curious?" Seeing his curious look, the charming Dragon Emperor covered her mouth and chuckled. "I have cultivated an origin dragon martial technique, which is related to the dream memory. The more experiences one had, the deeper one's cultivation was, and the stronger the effect would be. Why don't you spar with me and let me see the results?" No. Kong Shinmu smiled bitterly and shook his head. "This is too much. You are a senior at the level of the Dragon Emperor. How can you bully a junior like me?" "I'm a little embarrassed to hear you call me senior." Dragon Emperor couldn't help but laugh. "Actually, I'm also a student of Donghuang Yonggu College. Of course, outsiders don't know that I'm the owner of this inn. Usually, I practice in Tianxian District, but unfortunately, I can't take you there." Tianxian District. When Jiang Shenwu heard this, shock immediately surged in his heart. It turned out that this charming Dragon Emperor turned out to be one of the students of Donghuang Yonggu College. Moreover, she turned out to be a student practicing in Tianxian District. "It turns out that you are so strong and no wonder this inn of yours is free for the students of Donghuang Yonggu College." Kong Shinmu smiled bitterly. Tianxian District is the second largest district in Donghuang Yonggu College. Only 7 students are allowed to practice in it and absorb the energy of the dragon mark. The only place that was more central than Tianxian District was the Tianshu District. Only the top 3 students would cultivate there. In other words, the charming Dragon Emperor turned out to be one of the top 11 students of Donghuang Yonggu College. "My name is Yu Tianchong. Don't call me senior in the future." Dragon Emperor pursed her lips and chuckled. "I'm going back to the college first. What about you? Do you want to come with me?" "Not now." Kong Shinmu shook his head. "Thank you for taking care of me, senior sister Yu. I should stay here for about half a month. I'll go back to the college after I learn the dragon martial skill." Hearing Jiang Shenwu address her as senior sister Yu, she pursed her lips in satisfaction and smiled. "All right. However, you must remember that there are still 2 months before the academy tournament begins. You're the same as Chu Yi, a student who just joined the academy, right? With your strength, maybe you can go further and go to Kaiyang District to practice from Yaoguang District." "I'm still a little far away." Kong Shinmu shook his head. He knew that among the students of Donghuang Yonggu College, he was indeed nothing. There were still 2 months left, and his strength was not likely to improve significantly. Therefore, if he wanted to stand out from the fierce competition and go to a more central district to practice, it was very difficult. "Not at all. Senior sister has a lot of confidence in you." Yu Tianchong winked at him, and there was a touch of slyness in her eyes. It seemed that she had a deep impression of Kong Shinmu's performance in the memory dream, so she was sure that Kong Shinmu definitely had some special means. In this regard, it was useless for Kong Shinmu to refute. Fortunately, the other party was a student of Donghuang Yonggu College, And also a senior sister. Even if she knew about this, she should not spread it out. Okay, when you return to the college, remember to find me. I'll give you a big gift as a gift for helping me improve. After saying this, Yu Tianchong turned around and left. The proprietress of the Charming Inn, Charming Dragon Emperor, turned out to be a student of Donghuang Yonggu College, Yu Tianchong. Kong Shinmu looked at her elegant back as she left, a little surprised. Inadvertently, he got to know a super genius of Donghuang Yonggu College who practiced in Tianqian district. This was something that others could not get even if they begged for it. For example, Xueqi stayed in the Charming Inn for so long, but he did not see her once. But Kong Shinmu not only saw her, but also had something to do with her. If it was spread out, I am afraid that people would be extremely envious. But for Kong Shinmu, all this did not affect his mentality. Chapter 42-21. Be it Kong Shinmu or Ran Ran, neither of them knew what level of dragon technique it was for the time being. However, judging from its effects, it was definitely not an ordinary dragon technique. The dragon martial skill was divided into 4 levels: human level, earth level, dragon level, and heaven level. Now that Kong Shinmu had just successfully cultivated it, it was already at the human level. Logically speaking, a dragon technique at this level, even if it was an origin dragon technique, should not be too powerful. However, after successfully cultivating the dark dragon technique of filth, Kong Shinmu felt a dark attribute current flowing continuously in his body, nourishing his physical body. After he transformed into a dragon, he discovered that this dark attribute current actually had an extremely strong recovery ability. No matter how his physical body was damaged, this dark attribute current could heal him to the greatest extent, and the recovery effect was similar to that of Kong Shinmu absorbing life essence to heal his injuries. When Kong Shinmu was unable to absorb life essence to heal his injuries, this dark dragon technique of filth was his greatest life-saving measure. Apart from that, he could clearly sense everything that was going on in his body through the dark attribute current, and he could even use it to adjust his body. Previously, when Kong Shinmu attacked Ran Ran with the Shadow Dragon Fong, a lot of the devouring power had invaded her body, and she had used this method to isolate it. No one in the Dark Dragon Corps knew that Ran Ran was cultivating the Dark Dragon technique of filth. She had always kept it a secret, and it was only when she was out on a mission that she could use the effects of the Dark Dragon technique of filth. Brother Jiang, remember to look for the origins of the Dark Dragon technique of filth when you go to the academy. I want to know who my parents are. When they were about to part ways, Ran Ran's expression was a little gloomy. Yes, don't worry. Kong Shinmu nodded. I feel that my parents are very likely already. But no matter what, I still need to know who they are. Even if they are dead, I still need to know who killed them. Ran Ran's eyes flashed with killing intent. This was how Ran Ran behaved in front of outsiders. Only in front of Kong Shinmu would she become gentle and lovely. At other times, she was always cold. Of course, she was in a good mood when she was with the Fire Phoenix Princess. After all, they were both Kong Shinmu's friends. To her, the Fire Phoenix Princess was also her friend. I will think of a way to investigate. The Academy has a lot of information regarding the dragon martial skill. I will think of a way to check it out. I should be able to find it. Kong Shinmu pondered as he spoke. Donghuang Yonggu College is the strongest power in the eastern part of the continent. There are a lot of dragon martial techniques recorded in this power. If Ran Ran's parents weren't too far away, the Academy would definitely have records of the Dark Dragon Filth Control technique. After both parties parted, Kong Shinmu told the Fire Phoenix Princess and Ran Ran to cultivate in the Charming Inn. Currently, the Fire Phoenix Princess needed to raise her cultivation level. As for Ran Ran, she needed the Dragon Mark energy. Unfortunately, the Dragon Mark energy could only be found in Donghuang Yonggu College. Even in Donghuang Longgu City, it was rather difficult to obtain a treasure rich in Dragon Mark energy. After bidding farewell to the two girls, Kong Shinmu flew towards Donghuang Yonggu College in the sky. Now that he had the mark of his mentor, Xueqi, on his wrist, he could naturally pass through the barrier of Donghuang Yonggu College and enter Donghuang Yonggu College. I finally returned. Kong Shinmu looked at the majestic Donghuang Yonggu College in the sky. It was like a giant divine dragon that stretched across the sky. He felt somewhat emotional. He had only gone out for a mission this time, But he did not expect so many things to happen. Not only did he bring back the Fire Phoenix Princess and Ran Ran, these two girls, no matter which one of them walked on the streets of Donghuang Longgu City, would make people unable to take their eyes off them. He also got to know Yu Tianchong, a genius dragon martial artist who cultivated in Donghuang Yonggu College's Tianxian district. Her strength was at least in the top 11 in the entire Donghuang Yonggu College. However, what she said makes some sense. If I can go to the next level and cultivate in the inner area, the dragon mark energy will be even denser, and the speed at which I devour the dragon mark energy will also become faster. Kong Shinmu was looking forward to this. However, he was too weak now. If he wanted to beat the other students of Donghuang Yonggu College and cultivate in the inner area, it would be extremely difficult. There are only 2 months until the college tournament. I'm afraid I won't be able to improve too much during this time. Kong Shinmu shook his head, feeling that it was a pity. No matter what, he still had to cultivate quickly. He flew all the way back to his palace in Donghuang Yonggu College. Along the way, he met many dragon martial artists who traveled between the Donghuang Formation and the other areas of the college. However, he didn't know any of those dragon martial artists. He could tell that they were other students, and every one of them was a peerless genius. How could anyone who could enter Donghuang Yonggu College be ordinary? After all, there had only been one person like Kong Shinmu in the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty, and even in the surrounding Dragon Emperor kingdoms. From this, it could be seen that those who could enter Donghuang Yonggu College were definitely the cream of the crop among the dragon martial artists. I have to speed up my cultivation. Kong Shinmu made up his mind. He returned to his palace and began to search for information about the dragon martial technique. After searching for about 3 days, he finished reading all the information about the dragon martial technique in his palace and finally found information about the dark dragon imperial filth technique. He was shocked by the information he found. The dark dragon imperial filth technique is actually a high-tier origin dragon martial technique from the Northern Desolate Dragon Academy. Origin dragon martial techniques were divided into low-tier, mid-tier, and high-tier origin skills. Kong Shinmu's Void Dragon Raises the Heavens was naturally only a low-tier origin skill. Although this dragon martial technique was very powerful, it could only be considered the lowest tier among the origin dragon martial techniques. And the power and effects of high-tier origin skills were much stronger than low-tier origin skills. In fact, it could be said that they were dozens of times stronger. The Dark Dragon Imperial Filth technique is actually a high-tier origin skill. If I were to cultivate an origin dragon martial technique of this tier in Donghuang Yonggu College, it would take at least 3 years, and I would have to continuously complete missions and use experience points to exchange for it. But isn't the Dark Dragon Imperial Filth technique a high-tier origin skill from the Northern Desolate Dragon Academy? Kong Shinmu frowned slightly. Every Dragon Martial Academy's origin dragon martial technique could not be casually passed on to outsiders. What kind of existence was the jade pendant that recorded the Dark Dragon Imperial Filth technique and had directly merged with Ran Ran's body? And who were her parents? Kong Shinmu thought that if he asked instructor Chu Yueqiang, he might be able to find out a few things. After all, the transmission of high-tier origin skills was quite important. Chapter 42-22. Following that, Kong Shinmu began to cultivate in Donghuang Yonggu College. 4 ordinary students of Donghuang Yonggu College. Absorbing the Dragon Mark's energy to raise the grade of their blood essence was the most important thing. But for Kong Shinmu, his cultivation level was his shortcoming. Right now, he was at the Dragon King level of inheritance blood essence. Even if he used the devouring power to devour the Dragon Mark's energy, he would need at least 3 years to break through to the Dragon Emperor level of inheritance blood essence. Therefore he had to do it step by step. He could only absorb the Dragon Mark's energy slowly. If I can go to the inner area to cultivate, the speed at which I absorb the Dragon Mark's energy will definitely become faster. But it's not easy to win the Academy tournament. The competition is too fierce. Not to mention others, even senior brother Qin Fengyu and senior sister Lu Hua are still cultivating in the Alcade area. It can be seen how difficult it is to enter the inner area. Kong Shinmu shook his head. He did not intend to bite off more than he could chew. For the rest of his cultivation, his main goal was to increase his cultivation base. Basically, he would go and accept a training mission every 7 days, and they were all relatively easy. Although the difficulty was low, It was relatively easy to complete. Kong Shinmu's return trip would not exceed 3 days. In this way, after 1.5 months, Kong Shinmu had exchanged enough heaven and earth treasures in Donghuang Yonggu College. These heaven and earth treasures contained extremely rich heaven and earth spirit qi. In Donghuang Yonggu College, these heaven and earth treasures were considered relatively cheap. Of course, if it was taken outside, it would be a huge fortune. Kong Shinmu secretly gave some to the Fire Phoenix Princess to speed up her cultivation. The rest were basically absorbed and consumed by himself. This allowed him to finally make a breakthrough in his cultivation level. Originally, he had been at the second level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm for a very long time. But now, he had finally reached a bottleneck, and the third Nirvana Tribulation was about to arrive. Fortunately, he had accumulated a lot of experience points during this period of time. Seeing that he was about to cross the Nirvana Tribulation, he directly passed through the East Emperor Formation and returned to the vicinity of the Sealed Dragon Abyss of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. After the last change, there was no Dragon Emperor's country that dared to come to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court to behave atrociously. The situation in the Dragon Sealing Abyss had also become quite prosperous. Small cities had already been built in the vicinity. Some dragon warrior clans actually moved their whole family here. Before obtaining the qualifications to cultivate near the Dragon Sealing Abyss, they all lived in those small cities. These dragon warrior clans came from all over the Dragon Emperor dynasty, and they were all powerful and influential figures in their respective regions. Therefore, the wandering dragon warrior merchants who built these small cities also made a lot of money. The Dragon Sealing Abyss could increase the strength of the dragon warrior. At the same realm, the dragon warrior who had undergone the baptism of the Dragon Sealing Abyss would undoubtedly be stronger. Therefore, it could attract so many dragon warriors, and also made the other Dragon Emperor's countries jealous and wanted to occupy the Dragon Sealing Abyss. Unfortunately, they could only watch the overall strength of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty constantly increase because of the Dragon Sealing Abyss. Even in addition to the effect of increasing the strength of the dragon warrior, it seemed that the Dragon Sealing Abyss had a hidden effect. Because he had been guarding the vicinity of the Dragon Sealing Abyss, one of the 12 Flame Dragon envoys, Magpie Dragon King, finally had a chance to break through. It seemed that this Flame Dragon envoy finally showed signs of breaking through to the level of the Dragon Emperor. After Kong Shinmu returned, he casually inquired around the Dragon Sealing Abyss. Basically, all of them were passing on this news. It seems that the Dragon Mark energy would leak out from the Dragon Sealing Abyss from time to time. Absorbing the energy of these Dragon Marks would indeed increase the grade of the Divine Dragon blood. Kong Shinmu thought. What kind of existence was the Dragon Sealing Abyss? He did not know. He only knew that his father, Jiang Zizai, was still imprisoned in the Dragon Sealing Abyss. He had to go and rescue him. When he returned to the vicinity of the Dragon Sealing Abyss, his Nirvana Tribulation soon arrived. With the experience of the previous 2 times, he crossed the Nirvana Tribulation relatively quickly this time. The giant beast of the third Nirvana Tribulation appeared from the tribulation clouds. The weather changed, but Kong Shinmu was not the slightest bit timid. He stepped forward and engaged in a hand-to-hand combat with it. Although there was no black dragon consciousness near the Dragon Sealing Abyss, the devouring power could still be used. After about a day and a night, Kong Shinmu finally completely devoured the Nirvana beast. He himself almost fell into a desperate situation midway. Fortunately, the Dark Dragon Imperial Filth technique played some role. Otherwise, even if I won, it would have been a Pyrrhic victory. Kong Shinmu was somewhat emotional. He was somewhat grateful to Ran Ran for teaching him this dragon martial technique. This dragon martial technique meant a lot to him. It was not something ordinary dragon martial techniques could compare to. Next, I should choose some origin source dragon martial techniques to cultivate in the academy. It would be best if it's a mid-grade or above origin source dragon martial technique. It would be even better if there's a body tempering dragon martial technique. Kong Shinmu knew that all of this required experience points as a foundation. Whether it was to increase his cultivation or to exchange for the origin source dragon martial technique, he had to have enough experience points. In any case, the most important thing was to increase his strength. As long as he became stronger, he would be able to complete more experience missions. Naturally, the experience points would come faster. Nirvana Tribulation Realm. 3rd stage. As Kong Shinmu's realm increased, The devouring power in his body and the dark attribute power of the Dark Dragon Imperial Filth technique seemed to have more than doubled. This made his overall battle power more than doubled. Donghuang Yonggu College's competition is coming soon. Although I don't have much hope of winning, I can still participate and feel the strength of the other students. This will lay a foundation for future breakthroughs. Kong Xinmu made up his mind. After breaking through to the third stage of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm, he did not stay in the Yen Dragon Emperor Empire for too long. Instead, he returned to Donghuang Yonggu College through the teleportation formation of the East Emperor Formation. Coincidentally, as soon as he returned to his palace, he found someone looking for him. Third stage of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm, Dragon King's Blood Essence. You're improving pretty fast. The person who came could tell Kong Xinmu's current realm with just a glance. As for that person, she wore a light blue long dress. Her exquisite figure was graceful and elegant, but her beautiful face was covered with frost. Impressively, she was the famous cold beauty of the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial Academy, Chu Yueqiang. And Chu Yueqiang was Kong Xinmu's mentor. Kong Xinmu had just returned and hadn't even stepped through the door. He naturally bowed when he saw her. Not to mention anything else, Chu Yueqiang had helped him solve the desperate situation of the Yen Dragon Emperor Empire. He could not disrespect her in the slightest. Have you encountered any difficulties in your cultivation recently? Chu Yueqiang asked out of concern. Not really. Kong Xinmu shook his head. He thought about it and wondered if he should ask about the Dark Dragon Imperial Filth technique. But after thinking about it, he decided not to. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.